City Council. Keelan, please call the roll.
Capps.
Here.
Rubio.
Here.
Ryan. Gonzalez.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. Now we're going to hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with the council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. Individuals may testify for 3 minutes unless the presiding officer states otherwise. Your microphone will be muted when your time is over. The presiding officer preserves order. Disruptive conduct such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony should address the matter being considered. When testifying, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. If you are a lobbyist, identify the organization you represent. Virtual testifiers should unmute themselves when the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
Very good. And just sort of a heads up administratively, the plan today is to work through the council agenda as it was originally proposed for this afternoon, then go back to the consent agenda and do the regular agenda from this morning that we didn't get to. However, if we have time between the time certains, I would like to begin taking up those items. So I want staff to be prepared for that possibility. First item, please, item number 946, time certain emergency ordinance.
Amend Planning and Zoning Code to revise development standards and comply with Senate Bill 1537 to allow adjustments as part of the Housing Adjustment Compliance Project.
Good afternoon. What is before the City Council is the city's response to the state's passage of Senate Bill 1537 and our due diligence to align our local regulations with those state requirements. I'll now pass this on to Deputy City Administrator Oliveira and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability staff to present the projects. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mayor Donnie Oliveira, for the record, and I want to acknowledge and apologize that you're going to see a lot of my face this afternoon, so thank you in advance. All right, as the mayor acknowledged, this is a compliance project that's updating our zoning code to align with state requirements under Senate Bill 1537. This legislation provides developers with greater flexibility to meet Oregon's critical housing needs while keeping local land use review processes adaptable to each community's unique needs. BPS staff analyzed our current regulations in light of the bill and identified a small set of rules that needed updating. By amending these few areas, we're ensuring Portland's zoning regulations stay in compliance with state goals while allowing us to keep the review systems that are already familiar to our community. This project aligns our strong programs with state expectations without adding complexity to an already robust process. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra Wood and Phil Namany from BPS and Erica Thompson, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, to walk through the proposal. Thank you.
Want me to go ahead and start sharing?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Sandra Wood. I'm with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, and with me is Phil Namany today, who is the project manager for this project. We're joined at the dais by our chief planner, Patricia Diefendorfer, and Eric Engstrom, and the BPS interim director, will join us later for the Q&A after the testimony. As DCA Oliveira said, this is the first of 3 land use hearings that we have before you today. All 3 of them come with recommendations from the Planning Commission. So for this project, we're here to present the Planning Commission's recommendation on a package of amendments known as the Housing Adjustment Compliance Project. Next. So over the next hour, we will share our presentation. Mayor Wheeler will introduce the technical amendment that was published last week, and you'll hear public testimony. After that, we're planning and hopefully a vote on that amendment, and you'll have time to discuss this before passing on to a future meeting on November 13th.
What number are we on?
9:46.
Is this an emergency? So
It's an emergency.
it's an emergency, but we're gonna still have a second reading?
Yes, it's an emergency ordinance because we may not have the second reading until well into December, and we need this to be in effect on January 1st. So there's not a 30-day period between the second reading and the effective date.
Okay. So did you just say this was gonna come back to council at a future
It's,
date?
it's possible depending on, well, yeah, it's possible depending
My
on.
intention, just
those.
to answer the commissioner's question directly, is my hope that we will vote on the technical amendment today and that we will be able to pass this today as amended.
I would anticipate that. Thank you for that
Yeah,
clarification.
unless people don't feel comfortable with it, in which case, that's fine too.
We'll see how you do, Mayor. We'll
We'll
see how
see.
you do.
Yeah, no, it's putting a little pressure on me now. I have to
Yeah.
perform.
Yeah, let's decide that after the testimony and see how it goes.
Okay.
Great. So we're all clear on what we have planned today, right? So the Planning Commission recommends adopting the recommended draft for this project and amending the zoning code as shown in the draft. The intent is to bring the code into alignment with the requirements of the Oregon State Bill 1537. Erica Thompson, the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, will present their letter after our presentation. With that, I'll pass it on to Phil Namany to give you some background and the proposal itself.
Thanks, Sandra. Phil Namany for the record, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability Code Development Section. I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the context under which this package has been developed. Over the past couple of years, there have been state legislative attempts to remove regulatory barriers as well as provide greater flexibility for housing projects. There was a bill called House Bill 3414 that was proposed in the 2023 session that had some similar language to the 1537. That bill lost by 1 vote. Senate Bill 1537 came up in this legislative session and was signed by the governor this spring. The bill has an effective date of January 1st, 2025 to comply with the provisions related to adjustments. The bill has some other provisions related to establishing a housing office. So as I mentioned, there are several components. The proposal that's being addressed here is to address the provisions that require local jurisdictions to provide an opportunity to ask for adjustments to the regulations. The bill also establishes a Housing Accountability and Production Office, or HAPO, which will be charged with encouraging and monitoring housing production amongst the local jurisdictions. That will be established by July of next year. Focusing on the bill's provisions related to adjustments, it does require local jurisdictions to automatically grant up to 10 adjustments to a host of development design standards if a project can meet certain housing parameters. These standards include lot sizes, density, height limits, parking requirements, ground floor requirements, building facades, and other building design issues. The bill provides 3 options for compliance. First option would be to apply the bill directly to our local review process. The second would be that we could incorporate the rules into our zoning code directly. And then the third option that the bill provides is for a local jurisdiction to ask for an exemption to these rules by indicating that we currently have a process to allow adjustments to these standards and that we have a situation where we approve over 90% of those adjustments. Oops. And I just accidentally clicked on something. Let me bring the screen back up here. All right, why is my mouse not showing?
Do you want me to try to share?
Well, for some reason, my mouse is not showing.
There it is.
Yeah, well, I need to hit this button here, and my mouse is showing up there, but it's not showing. Let's
Can't
see.
get over?
Yeah, I can't get over.
Eat some cheese.
I think I accidentally clicked on a.
Okay, fixed it.
Okay.
Hey, Adam.
Thank you.
Hi, recipes, that's a lot.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming here. So before I go into the details of this proposal, I do want to share some background about what we mean when we talk about an adjustment. Portland zoning code includes many development standards, such as setbacks, heights, floor area limitations, main entrance standards, and so on. An adjustment is a request to deviate from or alter those requirements or standards. What's shown here on the screen is an example of an adjustment where somebody's asking to reduce the required 5-foot setback to an amount less than that. Adjustments are also called variances in several jurisdictions. In Portland, we call those either adjustments or modifications if it's being done as part of another review, such as a design review. The adjustment process is a discretionary land use process. Adjustments are approved if they can be shown to meet the regulatory intent of the standard. This allows a decision to include addressing impacts or providing conditions of approval. This can help to ensure that the development proposal is consistent with the legislative intent. A discretionary process includes public notice and making findings against the approval criteria. These reviews are often done at the staff level, and adjustments to Portland generally allows adjustments to most of the standards that are addressed in the bill. So I'm going to pivot here from the background and go through some of the provisions that we are proposing with this bill. So to comply with Senate Bill 1537, we are going to be asking for the exemption from the bill so that development applications will continue to use our local adjustments process. To take advantage of taking this approach is that it means we do not have to create a new adjustment process in accordance with the bill. We can use our current existing land use process, and it keeps us from having to do any kind of separate process, which would be confusing to an applicant. Our approach was to focus on the compliance with the bill. To do this, we assessed our zoning code to make sure it matches the bill requirements. This included focusing on housing projects, allowing adjustments in situations where the current regulations prohibit the adjustments, match the amount of variance stated in the bill, and also provide a temporary expiration date similar to what the bill has. With the approval exemption by the state, we will continue to monitor our process and rate of approvals. There are several sections of the code where we are providing amendments to places where adjustments are currently prohibited. These include minimum lot sizes for new and existing lots, a specific locational standard for bike parking that limits the amount of long-term bike parking that can be placed in dwelling units, and some development standards that are specific to cottage cluster development. In all these cases, we have added language that allows someone to request an adjustment to those standards. We are also, the fourth area of amendments is to the maximum height standards. In many plant districts, height adjustments are prohibited. So the next few slides will go into a little more detail about what we're doing with maximum height. Portland's zoning code generally provides a range of options and bonuses to allow for increases in height, but prohibits adjustments to those height maximums, especially in planned districts. The intent is to use the existing height options height bonuses to encourage affordable housing and other public benefits. However, the Senate bill does require jurisdictions to also allow adjustments of up to 20% to the base height amount or a single story, whichever is greater. So outside the central city, the amendments allow for this projects to request these adjustments that match the bill, so up to 20% or a single story. To request the adjustment, the proposal must have at least 75% of their floor area dedicated to residential uses. There was testimony during the Planning Commission hearing to go beyond those minimums when a proposal is within the city's central city plan district. The Planning Commission's recommendation allows for requests of adjustments greater than 20% of the base zone height stated within the bill. As shown on the slide, the Planning Commission's reasoning was that this may remove a development barrier, but still allow that for requests to be reviewed against the design review guidelines and purpose of the code. Commission's recommendation maintains this provision as a temporary allowance, so it expired in 2032 like the other provisions. And we do anticipate that some of the testimony today will be about this provision. Just wanted to reiterate, adjustments and modifications are a discretionary decision. The approval criteria are slightly different between adjustments and modifications. Adjustments are often done on their own, where modifications are part of a design review. However, both types do consider whether the proposal supports or is aligned with the purpose or policy intent of our regulations. And then sites in the central city would also need to show their approval meets the design guidelines for the area. This process could potentially allow for a reviewer to deny or condition an approval to meet those criteria. So as I mentioned earlier, this has been on kind of a quick time frame because this just got approved by the governor's office in spring of 2024. So the outreach that was conducted for this project was that used for a standard legislative process. And we approached this as a compliance project to comply with the state requirements. We've been working with the State Department of Land Conservation and Development and have sent notice to various organizations and interested individuals through our legislative list, which comprises about 300 contacts. We also have a project list of people who have signed up who are interested in this project. We also presented a Design and Historic Landmarks Commission, especially once there was a change from the Planning Commission. As mentioned above, the height adjustment allowance came out of testimony during the Planning Commission hearing, and this was the main piece of testimony received. As of just a little bit earlier today, we have 4 pieces of written testimony in the MAP app, which you can all access. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Sandra.
Great, thank you, Phil. So for today's hearing, I think we think that council might hear about 2 things. One is adjustments to height. Phil already explained that the state requires the city to accept adjustments applications up to 20%. The Planning Commission did go a step further and is recommending an unlimited height adjustment allowance. Of course, the adjustment would require a land use review. It wouldn't be allowed by right or on a project-by-project basis. The second topic you may hear about are adjustments to floor area ratios, or what is commonly referred to as FAR, or you might hear it called FARs. FARs establish the amount of floor area that are allowed on a site. In essence, it establishes the density allowed and the infrastructure needed to serve that type of density. For this reason, the standard is very different from the height standard. Senate Bill 1537 does not require that these be adjustable, and in Portland, they aren't. The standard was never part of the project's scope, so the Planning Commission didn't receive testimony on this topic. They did not discuss it, and there is no recommendation about this topic. In our work with the community, we've heard much about both height and FARs in Central City, and that's why investigating both of those topics in the Central City and outside the Central City is identified in the housing production strategy that you all adopted in August. And that's also why BPS is launching a project that will look at both FAR and heights to maximize incentives for housing overall, and needed housing for lower income households, large families, and accessible units. So the next 3 slides include preliminary findings on both of these issues as staff has begun to do some research. So starting with height, this slide shows height utilization in the Central City for projects built between 2017 and today. So far, the Central City team found that 69% of projects used just the base height or less. In other words, they were as tall as the base height allowed, or they were shorter than that. 31% of the projects surpassed the base height and used the bonus height that's allowed with inclusionary housing. So based on this analysis, the preliminary conclusions they are drawing is that projects are not constrained by the height limits. In actuality, only a third of the residential projects utilize the bonus heights that is provided by right without an adjustment needed. And the taller buildings do not, another conclusion that they have been thinking about is that the taller buildings don't necessarily result in more unit production. Staff have found examples of developments where the average density of a high-rise project is less than that of a mid-rise project because high-rise projects tend to have larger units that target more luxury markets. This has a strong correlation with the Florida area ratio standards, which we'll share in the next couple of slides. Next, please. So as you recall, on the heels of the new comprehensive plan, the City Council adopted the Central City 2035 plan, which went into effect in 2018. This map shows in green shaded areas, the areas where the maximum floor area ratios were increased during that project. Because this is a relatively recent change and development activity has been slow, we have not yet seen how the market is responding to these changes. We do know that several projects, such as the OMSI Master Plan site, are using these new FARs in their planning. And our upcoming Central City Code Amendment project is just beginning to look into this, into these FARs and heights to see if more change is needed. Next. This is getting a little nerdy. I apologize, but there's a lot of information to share. So this slide shows the average FAR utilization in the Central City. So again, FAR is very different from height. Looking at the right column, of the 45 residential projects built during this time period, 40% used base FAR or less, 42% used bonus FAR or less. That means that they've earned the extra FAR by providing affordable units. And only 18% transferred FAR to the site on top of their bonus FAR. Similar to the height utilization, our preliminary analysis shows that projects are not being constrained by FAR. Neither a Central City team nor our Portland permitting and development staff are aware of any projects that are constrained by insufficient FAR. Based on historic utilization, we know that there's a significant amount of untapped FAR downtown today. This unused FAR can be transferred to future development sites if more FAR is needed beyond the bonus FAR for affordable housing. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that increases in FAR beyond what is allowed by the existing zoning could have an impact on water, sewer, and transportation infrastructure. An increase in development capacity requires more analysis and collaboration with the city infrastructure bureaus to understand those potential impacts and how to address them. Also important to note, similar to height, is that FAR does not mean more units nor more affordable units. More FAR can and often does mean larger luxury units and high-rise buildings that are expensive to build and tend to have higher rents or unit sale prices. Regardless, both height and FAR will be carefully considered through the upcoming Central City Code Amendment project that is being scoped and will be kicked off publicly early next year. So switching topics now, I want to provide a little information about an amendment that we published last week on behalf of Mayor Wheeler. While this amendment is not directly related to the state rule changes, it provides a timely and needed clarification to the zoning code. During the review of the Burnside Bridge replacement, staff noted that the zoning code wasn't clear about whether the entire zoning code applied to development in the right-of-way or if only the overlay zones did, like the environmental, design, and historic overlay zones. This amendment clarifies the original intent that only the overlay zones should be applicable to development in the right-of-way. The amendment is to Chapter 3310, which is an introductory section of the zoning code. The amendment was published on October 23rd and is part of the council agenda for those who want to view it. This project kicked off in April when Senate Bill 1537 was signed. As you can see, this is a quick turnaround of just 6 months, and the adjustment provisions need to be in place by January. And to reiterate, the Planning Commission recommends that City Council adopt the recommended draft for the project and amend the zoning code as shown in the draft with consideration for the potential amendment just presented. With these actions, Portland will be well-positioned to comply with Senate Bill 1537 by the January 1st deadline. This concludes our presentation. I'll now pass it and invite the Planning Commission Vice Chair Erica Thompson to join us on the dais to present the Planning Commission's letter.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Erica Thompson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm Vice Chair for the Planning Commission. Excited to be here this afternoon to share the Planning Commission's recommendation in support of the Housing Adjustment Compliance Project. The limited testimony this project received at the Planning Commission was focused on expanding the potential for height adjustments in excess of what the state Senate bill requires. Height adjustments were thus the predominant topic during our deliberations, and ultimately the Planning Commission voted in favor of an amendment to allow requests for increased height adjustments beyond the 20% by the state within the Central City Plan District. Planning commissioners cited the following reasons for proposing and supporting this amendment. First, the amendment does not guarantee a height increase. It simply provides projects a pathway to ask and to make a case during design review for how the increase is compatible with applicable design standards. Secondly, the amendment signals to the development community and the state that Portland is continuing to remove barriers to housing development. And lastly, Portland's downtown vibrancy and recovery will be advanced by getting more people living downtown. I did want to take just a moment to emphasize that the Planning Commission discussion of going beyond what is required by the state bill was focused specifically on height adjustments. We did not get into the FAR piece. We did not hear requests for increased FAR during testimony, and thus did not really have a chance to deliberate on that. I'll quickly add the Planning Commission also voted in support of a second amendment that was proposed by staff to address the locational standards for bike parking. This is a piece that's just necessary to align with the state bill. So in closing, I would like to commend BPS staff for their quick and thorough work on this package, and also recognize permitting and development for maintaining a high adjustment approval rate up to this point, which has allowed the city to pursue this more flexible compliance pathway within the state bill. So thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Very good. All right, at this point, colleagues, before we get into Q&A, maybe I'll go ahead and introduce the technical amendment, just so we have that on the table. But first, I want to thank you all for your great presentations. Before we hear testimony, I'd like to introduce this technical amendment. It addresses an issue that was raised during the review process associated with the brand-new Burnside Bridge. And perhaps, Commissioner Mapps, you were part of this discussion. Phil, please bring up the amendment language on the screen so that we can all see it. And again, it's technical, colleagues. It clarifies what sections of the zoning code apply to development in the right-of-way, which, of course, includes the Burnside Bridge. I asked staff to draft this following amendment. They posted the amendment language on the project's website last week, and it's included with this meeting's agenda. But let's wait till it comes up so everybody can take a look at it.
Mayor Wheeler, we're calling up the memo that has the language. It'll
Right.
just take a moment. I apologize.
What?
While he's bringing that up, Mayor, I know there was some discussion of both height restrictions and FAR. As I understand, this amendment's only going to address height restrictions.
Commissioner Gonzalez, this amendment is related specifically to the public right-of-way and the Burnside Bridge issue. The height is already part of the package, but that's before council. The recommended plan from the Planning Commission already included the unlimited height adjustment.
Got it. The way it was teed up for me is there was a potential amendment that was going to address FAR as well. So I just I'm trying to calibrate what you're about to present to us versus what at one point was communicated to me.
The FAR, there's no amendment on the table for the FAR adjustment at this time.
Was there one considered being brought?
I certainly heard from constituents and interest groups that they were hoping council would bring one.
Okay. I wasn't sure on your side, coming to today, if you had discussed that possibility, but.
We do not have any drafted language for such an amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Could you skip down to the actual amendment language so I can read that into the record? Okay, clarification. Geez, do I have to read all of this? It's actually in the agenda, isn't it? So I don't have to read it all.
I think, Mayor Wheeler, you could just say, move to amend the recommended draft with the
Yeah, I
amendment
just want
shown
to
on
make
the.
sure my colleagues know what it is that's being considered here. Could somebody describe it in brief, please?
Yes, so generally, the zoning code, well, the zoning code is not clear whether the entire zoning code applies to development in the right-of-way. As you know, it obviously applies to development on private property for buildings being built. But when capital projects are coming through and they're doing development in the right-of-way, such as a bridge or lampposts and all other things that happen in the right-of-way, the zoning code isn't clear as to whether the entire zoning code applies or only the overlay zones. We looked at the legislative intent from past council decisions and the way that has been applied in the past, and it's always been only the overlay zones, the special environmental design historic overlay zones, not the whole zoning code. And why this is important is because the whole zoning code would invoke things like a height maximum. And we don't want to be reviewing, for example, the Burnside Bridge for what the maximum height is. And that was meant to be regulating private property next door, not what's in the public right-of-way. So this is, we felt, a technical correction to that, given all the expertise that the people and city attorneys we've spoken to and with talking to PP&D about that.
Commissioner Mapps.
Thank you for the explanation of that, and thanks for the mayor for being so transparent. Maybe I'm going to turn to Mike, and it's fine if you're not. Mike or our staff, in a previous life, I was the commissioner in charge of infrastructure and had a lot of responsibility for the right-of-way. I'm trying to figure out if I still had that particular assignment, what this would mean for me, or and it may be too in the weeds for me to.
Yeah.
Well, I think basically it clarifies that only certain regulations apply to development in the right-of-way, not necessarily the entire zoning code from what I hear.
Exactly. So for example, with the Burnside Bridge, just using that as an example, the west side landing of the Burnside Bridge is in a historic district. We
Right.
would like to review that for the historic compliance and how compatible it is to the area. But we don't want to apply all the other standards in the zoning code, like the height and the floor area ratios, pedestrian standards, screening. Like all of those were not written with the notion of capital projects in mind. They were written for private property and buildings on land.
Commissioner, may be more pertinent to your question about your responsibility as commissioner in charge. The design specifications and all of the traffic specifications and roadway specifications that are under PBOT's authority,
Yep.
they would still apply. Those are not zoning code questions. Those are questions of design specifications for the roadway itself and the right-of-way, so.
And that's exactly what the zoning code says, that Title 17 applies, which is the public improvements title of the city title.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification and your patience, Mr. Mayor.
Not a problem. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Mapps, and we'll go ahead and leave this open, so if anybody wants to talk about it during public testimony, they can knock themselves out and do so. Colleagues, any questions before we get to public testimony? Seeing none, Keelan, how many people do we have signed up for public testimony?
8 people.
All right, let's hear it.
First up, we have Swarapala.
Welcome.
Hello, can you all hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Good afternoon, City Council, members of staff, and fellow Portlanders. My name is Sarav Pala, and I'm a Goose Hollow resident, here to comment on the proposal to amend the zoning code Title 33 to allow more adjustments to development and design standards like maximum building heights in the central city. In a time of extreme need to increase the housing supply, the city government has a duty to re-examine current barriers to development and reduce excess regulations where appropriate. The item before you is a clear-cut example of an easy, near effortless change whose only impact is making it easier for the development community to help build homes for our city's current and future residents. This proposal wouldn't force the city or planning officials to accept any requests, but rather simply gives residential builders the ability to ask for adjustments. Given that this applies to the central city area, a section of the city with strong demand for housing, existing access to frequent transit, and proximity to jobs and services, it flies in the face of reason to arbitrarily block any height adjustments that may yield additional housing density and supply. And adopting these changes goes beyond meeting state goals for housing production. Increasing housing density in the central city will improve public safety by having more eyes on the street. It allows more Portlanders to take advantage of our transit system, which has struggled to recover ridership post-pandemic. It brings more reliable and consistent customers to downtown businesses that have struggled these last few years, and it helps city finances by generating more property tax revenue on a per-acre basis. I strongly encourage council to adopt this proposal and to look even further for ways to increase the housing supply within the central city area, such as also allowing for floor area ratio adjustments and easing the stringency of approval criteria. I'd also like to push back against the claim that the central city isn't constrained by FAR restrictions. Many developers simply never start development as current FAR regulations prevent viable high-density projects at market rates, and those unrealized projects wouldn't be reflected in the numbers shown. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Brian McCarter and Joe Swank.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Brian McCarter, Design Commission Chair, and my colleague Joe Swank. Thank you for taking our testimony. The Design Commission has been briefed on the Housing Adjustment Compliance Project related to Senate Bill 1537 by Phil on our October 3rd, 2024 Design Commission hearing. We're in support of the allowances for additional housing units in Portland's design overlay zones where growth is to be focused. However, far and away the biggest impediments to new housing in Portland are the high cost of land, money, construction, and the inability to recoup these costs in the current rent structure. And these circumstances are even more acute with high-rise construction over 75 feet, which brings with it a whole another series of structural and fire life safety requirements. In essence, in my conversations with colleagues in the development community, it just doesn't pencil out right now. So there is tremendous potential that's not even being used outside of this adjustment. Joe?
So the Design Commission supports the original proposal from the state of Oregon and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, where 75% of the floor is residential. Adjustments must be allowed to both base height and bonus heights of up to 20% of the base height or 1 story, whichever is more. And 1 story is considered 10 feet in this case. However, in regards to the Planning Commission amendment for unlimited height in the Central City Plan District, the Design Commission has concerns that the amendment is being put forward in the absence of any analysis on impacts to shading on open spaces, established view corridors, and even impacts to yet to be determined spaces. If the Portland City Council would like to entertain unlimited height in the Central City, then we request your consideration for the following options. Pause on the implementation of this amendment to allow BPS staff to conduct an analysis of the impacts on open spaces, view corridors, et cetera, during the upcoming Central City legislative project, and direct BPS staff to incorporate well-vetted revisions to height in that legislative project, or allow height adjustments greater than 20% of base height with a mandatory Type 3 design review, land use review with the Design Commission, or a mandatory design advice request meeting prior to submitting for your land use review. The potential unintended consequences of blocking scenic view corridors and shading of parks and public open spaces in Central City would be permanent impacts to our downtown's most special places. In some instances, these height modification decisions may also result in appeals direct to the Land Use Board of Appeals at the state, taking the appeal decision outside of Portland's jurisdiction. And the effects of the Planning Commission's amendment should be carefully studied. The Design Commission should be engaged to ensure height modifications impact is considered within the context of the overall Central City Plan. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Next up, we have.
Commissioner Maps had a question, and then Commissioner
Let's see, I'm not sure if we have the right folks, and if this is the right moment to ask this question. One of the options that we heard a set of options here, specifically around making some evaluations around height adjustments. I think all the options that were put on the table would require us to take more time, but I get the impression we also have to basically pass something soon, as part of this process. Okay, I'm seeing staff in the back shake their head. Thank you. Just wanted that clarification.
I had a follow-up question for you both. Just trying to tackle one of the underlying assumptions as to the barriers of development right now in the city of Portland. I think we all recognize interest rates, cost of land, overall development costs. That's a national and frankly international issue right now. But we're not performing well relative to many peers either in housing generation. And so I guess help us unpack here. I mean, I'm going to support what the mayor's proposing. I think we got to get this moving. We have a state law to comply with. But, you know, we're kind of in the sunset for this council on confronting these issues. And while I'm proud of some of the work we've done, I think the question before us is, have we been radical enough in responding to the catastrophic, decline in housing production? We've taken steps, but repeatedly I sit here and wonder, have we gone far enough, done enough? And so I guess I'm just getting at your assumption that the primary barrier is interest rates, acquisition cost, and overall inflation when we're underperforming relative to peers by a lot of studies. And so I don't know. You guys have had a longer horizon with this in many respects, so I'm just curious on your perspective on that.
Let me take one stab, and then Joe, I'm going to channel my colleague on the Design Commission, who's today is his last day on Design Commission, and he's done housing projects all over Central City. And he quoted some figures. This is what it costs to bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars each on a unit basis online, and he compared it with Salt Lake City and Austin and some other places. And it's a combination of things in Portland that drives our unit prices up. And so he said any kind of barriers that we can remove incrementally, even though they're small, is probably in the right direction. But he said, quite frankly, this amendment is not going to do anything. He says right now what is penciling out is 3-story wood construction on a concrete slab with surface parking. And that's not going to achieve our density goals and our unit goals. So it's just, we're frustrated too, because we're not seeing the project volume come in that we saw 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know that I have too much to add other than it's twofold. It's the economy and the difficulty in getting any project off the ground right now, particularly housing, with where the rents to the cost to build equalize. But I think it's also the investment in those projects, whether it be from other places or in town, and kind of that commitment and that vision of Portland and what a public space should and could look like, drawing that investment to make that money and getting that outside investment back to the city is paramount as well. So those are the two big factors. And while I think the regulatory reform that kind of has come through in a lot of policies through council in the last few years, especially regarding housing, have made incremental steps, they're not enough to overcome kind of that subsidy or that additional investment that's required on a per unit basis to kind of move those things forward.
Yeah, and I mean, the rents piece is a component, I think it's underappreciated in the public dialogue, right? I mean, that we are, for all the discussions about affordability, the lack of prospect of decent rent recovery right now in the city of Portland that's tied to wages is a factor that's making us unattractive from an investment perspective. It's just a vicious cycle, though, it feels like, right? We're not building enough that drives up the cost of rent in the abstract, but if you don't have wage growth to support higher rent, you're still unattractive for investors. So I will just acknowledge on height restrictions in Central City, I can remember my grandmother talking about it 25 years ago and the impacts of, what we do, and we don't want to be New York. And I mean, this is an old discussion, but for both FAR and height, I continue to wonder, should we be doing a lot more than what we are? But I'll leave it at that.
And I'll just add that, an unlimited height building, so a high rise, for instance, is going to be the most expensive building to build. So that's kind of just to say where we are in the state of this economy. To my colleague's point, it's the least likely to actually occur in this next 7-year piece.
Well, I would hope that you would educate the next council on that point, because a lot of the discussion around density, which I support, misses that point, right? That, I mean, the higher you go, some of your construction costs go up for fire and other safety reasons. And the assumption that we can solve all of our affordability problems just with density, or at least higher raise. Again, I do want us to look at going higher. I do want us to look at FAR, but I don't know that that's going to be the whole solution here.
We will definitely do that, and we're as frustrated as you are. It's just like, why aren't we seeing the pipeline starting back up? And colleagues say, well, another 2 percentage points in the prime rate, we'll probably start to see some activity. And it's like, when is that going to happen?
Okay.
So it's just, yeah, it's frustrating right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Next up, we have Ian McKenzie online.
Welcome, Ian. Hi, Ian.
Good afternoon. My name is Ian McKenzie. I'm a senior associate at TVA Architects, and I'm here in support of the Housing Adjustments Compliance Project, specifically as it relates to flexibility regarding height in the central city. There's pretty universal agreement that downtown Portland needs more people living in it. A couple months ago, I was in Vancouver, BC, and I was struck by how much more vibrant their downtown is than ours is these days. And that's not something I remember thinking 10 years ago. That's in large part due to the amount of housing that's been built in downtown Vancouver. It's clear that there are lessons for us here in Portland. Residential towers have a more slender profile than the office towers that were under construction in 1979, when Portland first introduced height limits downtown. Giving architects flexibility to use the same amount of FAR in taller, slimmer buildings can result in more livable units and a more attractive skyline. There are 2 arguments I've heard against allowing this flexibility around height. The first is that this new allowance wouldn't be used to this discussion you're just having. It's true that the development market is challenging in Portland right now, even for low-rise structures. When I moved here in the middle of the Great Recession, nothing was being built in Portland. The condo boom had turned into a bust, and there was no optimism that things would change. The Park Avenue West Tower, designed by the firm I now work for, was a giant abandoned pit in the middle of downtown. A couple years later, work started again. Today, it stands as one of the tallest buildings in the city. The second argument I've heard is that the allowance would be used too frequently. From where we are today, I would say that would be a good problem to have. But it's worth noting that any use of the height flexibility would be through a land use process with the ability for public comment and indeed appeal to City Council. The Design Commission is comprised of very thoughtful people who can weigh the benefits of a request against any potential impacts. This proposal should not be seen as in competition with any future planning efforts that could increase by right allowances. We understand that an update to the Central City Plan is currently being scoped, and we look forward to engaging with that for the next few years. But we should not wait that long to take action. With a string of good news stories recently, the WNBA team, the selection of Zidell yards for baseball, the James Beard Public Market, we could see the development market heat up again. If it does, it may do so faster than government regulations can change. Now is the time we're ready for the next real estate cycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Andrew Smith.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the Chair of the Portland Historic Landmarks Commission. As Phil mentioned, the Landmarks Commission was briefed on the HACP by BPS on October 14th. To be clear, we are in support of allowances for additional housing units in Portland Central City. The Commission does have two recommendations, however. First off, we concur with the Design Commission in support of meeting the state mandate for limiting adjustments to 20% or one story until such time as an appropriate analysis can be conducted on the impact of additional height allowances. And we understand from the presentation earlier that such analysis is underway now. Secondly, historic districts in Central City require special consideration. Upzoning via height increases or FAR increases incentivizes demolition. In addition to the loss of unique neighborhood identity, view corridors, and some shadow impacts, the significant carbon emissions impact of demolition works against the city's sustainability goals. Upzoning also increases land costs, which in turn increases the cost of development. We question whether this additional height allowance will actually improve affordability of the resulting housing. A policy to allow unlimited height may well create false expectations for developers seeking additional height in historic districts, and sets up a conflict when proposals fail to meet approval criteria and design guidelines. Finally, the lack of public engagement or input prior to the Planning Commission vote sets a bad precedent, especially for decisions whose impact will affect the built environment for the next 50+ years. Thanks for your consideration of how this policy will impact Portland's historic resources.
Great, thank you.
Next up, we have Ezra Hammer.
Hi, Ezra.
Excuse me. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Commissioners. My name is Ezra Hammer. I'm a land use attorney with Jordan Ramus. I'm here on behalf of Oregon Smart Growth, of which we are a member, which is a nonprofit organization that advocates for greater development flexibility, primarily in the downtown core. I think you've had a lot of eloquent testimony today on kind of all sides of this issue, and I think what I've heard reiterated time and time again is kind of a commitment to the status quo with regards to how we need to be thinking about our planning processes. You adopted earlier this year a housing needs analysis that calls for 31,000 units of housing in the downtown core, and this year we're going to produce less than 500 throughout the entire city. And there's a fundamental disconnect there. And that disconnect is between what we could do in a market that was flaming hot and one that could withstand the regulatory frameworks that we've crafted here and the one that we're dealing with today. And Commissioner Gonzalez, I think you highlighted that really well, which is it's a challenge across the country, but why is it such a challenge here? And certainly, as the esteemed members of the Design Commission mentioned, there are factors such as construction costs and labor, et cetera. But a lot of what we deal with is a perception issue. And I think as the Planning Commission rightly noted, what they did from a request for an unlimited height adjustment process was to create a usable signal that we can take out and use as a shining beacon to show that Portland is actually interested in people building downtown, that we want the dollars that are currently going to Miami and Seattle and Vancouver, BC. We want them here, because if they come here, then we'll get not only the housing that we so desperately need, but we'll also reap the tax benefits that will allow a future council, and a future mayor to pay for all of the important things that we want to do to help our most vulnerable residents. We have an incredible set of progressive values in the city, and we should stand by those. But the way that we are going to fund those progressive values is by having a large and robust tax base. And we can only do that through development because we don't have sales tax in the city. And so I will respectfully disagree with those that say this should be another wait and see approach. We should take our time on this. We need to act now, and we need to act in a bold way. And the only way that anybody will ever take advantage of this unlimited height request that the Planning Commission wanted to open the door for is with a compendium that allows for a request for unlimited FAR. And despite what you've heard today, the two work in tandem. Having unlimited height on a building means absolutely nothing if a project applicant cannot place usable square footage in that space. And that is what FAR essentially is. It is the amount of allowable square footage that you can have within a building. And we think that now is the time for the bold action. And now is the time for Portland to recommend that projects should be tall and they should be dense, and we should bring 31,000 residents into the downtown core. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, just one follow-up question.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
So is it fair to say that what's before us without adjustment on FAR is not going to achieve the ends? Is that the
I think the Planning Commission had a really noble goal, which is let's sound our positive signal, but let's create something usable. And the way that that thing becomes usable is by pairing it with FAR. And I think it's right to say that nobody is beating down the doors today to build that building. But if we can set a framework that allows people to see the opportunity here, when those opportunities come around and people want to deploy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of capital, they're going to see that they can do so in a reasonable environment downtown. And I'll only say that without that, we are going to be less competitive from a landing spot than our sister cities.
Yeah, and I'm going to share my cards at this point. I'm not in a position of proposing kind of amendment right now to what they brought forward, but at minimum asking staff with urgency to bring back some analysis on FAR seems in the cards. And wish we had more time to operate right now, but I just don't see a path to comply with state law and to keep this moving. But if anyone in the next council is listening, please keep a ear open for this and appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Don Sawaya online.
Hi, thank you, commissioners. Good afternoon. My name is Don Sawaya. I'm a principal architect at Ankrum Wason Architects, where I lead the housing studio here in Portland. Since 1999, I have practiced almost entirely on housing in and around our city. Here, near the end of 2024, we're at a tipping point where positive attention is starting to return to our community, and we have an opportunity to increase that attention, and it's before us today. In the development of land, height and FAR are linked. When both building height and floor area ratio are regulated, development potential is generally limited by FAR before height, i.e., if you generally run out of building area that you can build before you run out of the height that's available to build it. And this relationship is especially true in the central city. When the confidence to invest returns to our city to such an extent that it generates a request to exceed FAR limitations on a specific piece of property because there is market demand, our development code has the ability to facilitate that discussion. Unfortunately, today it currently prevents it. Including FAR in addition to building height on the list of what can be requested by an adjustment or modification in order to provide more housing is an opportunity to help Portland realize its potential and meet state goals for housing delivery. Please add this element to the amendment under consideration. Thank you.
Next up, we have Michael Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Michael Anderson with Sightline Institute. We're a sustainability think tank. Downtown would benefit from more people. It's got 100,000 fewer people in the central city coming to work than we did a few years ago. That makes it a very different situation than when the city approved its last central city plan in 2018. That's why Sightline is here in support of the Planning Commission's recommendation. Downtown, we heard from Ms. Wood, staff earlier, that in their analysis, the downtown height limits do not bind. I would respectfully disagree with her analysis. What she found was that lots of projects are not bound by it. That does not mean, as Sarah from Portland Neighbors Welcome said, that no projects may be being bound by it, and that we don't see the projects that aren't proposed. And furthermore, of the 200-foot or more buildings that have been proposed since height limits were imposed that have been built, rather, since height limits were imposed in 1979, half of those residential projects either went directly up to the height limit or they received some sort of exemption that let them go beyond it. So I think the evidence shows that height limits are very potentially relevant as a binding constraint in better conditions. I agree with the folks on the Design Commission that we are not currently under conditions where you're likely to see a bunch of projects coming in the door, but that doesn't mean we should bolt the door shut. That's essentially what we do when we say you're not even allowed to request anything, you're not even allowed to do this analysis that our folks on the Design Commission, the Historic Commission are asking for. What the adjustment request would allow is for that analysis to happen. There are specific criteria that say if this is in a historic district, if this is going through a view shed, if this is needs to get a shadow study, all of those processes are already there in place, and the city's well within its rights to reject a project if it steps over any of those lines already under the proposal as the Design Commission or as the Planning Commission brings to you. So that's why I'm speaking in favor of keeping that power in the hands of the city, as this would, but also not bolting the door shut to any good fortune that comes our way. Thanks.
That
Thank you.
completes testimony, Mayor.
All right, very good. Colleagues, if there's any more questions of staff at this point, we can entertain those questions. Otherwise, I'd like to call for a vote on the amendment, the technical amendment. Commissioner Rubio.
I have just a couple questions.
Why don't we have staff come up, please?
Okay. So this is a question for staff about these requests, specifically thinking about no cap on the height request. And I see the value and importance of having that additional flexibility. But just so that there's clarity and about the rules and when they start the permit process, because time is money and the fees add up, et cetera. How would this type of request actually get reviewed? And let's say something comes forward like tripling the height of one of the buildings, who would actually make that decision? And what should an applicant expect going through the process that will be taken into consideration?
So in the central city, most of the central city has a design overlay zone or is an historic district. So either way, a project would come through and apply for design review or historic resource review, probably coupled with a modification request. And a modification is another word for an adjustment. It just has slightly different approval criteria. And the approval criteria are that for design review, the project better meets the design guidelines. In other words, the resulting development will better meet the applicable guidelines. So the design is better because the building is taller, for example. They also have to meet the purpose of the standard itself. And the purpose of the standard talks about why do we have maximum heights in the central city to begin with? Well, we have them because we value our view corridors. And view corridors are public views. They are not private views from condos. They are public views to Mount Hood, to the bridges, et cetera. And it contributes, of course, to the beauty of our city. So it talks about public views. It talks about historic areas. It talks about no shading on public plazas or on the park blocks. It talks about stepping down to the Willamette River. So all of those things are invoked during that modification review. And then we can request for mitigation of impacts. And this is what the Design Commission does beautifully, and so does staff. So they talk to the applicant about the design of the building. What's our skyline going to look like? What are how is this building contributing to the overall city and downtown? You asked about the process. As you may recall, for the Housing Regulatory Relief Project, we changed our rules for the time being for this next 6-year period to decrease the type 3s to type 2s and type 2s to X. I don't have all the numbers right now, but many of these projects would come through for a staff review. So that means not a public hearing before the design commission. So it would be an application to staff. They send out notice. The community has an opportunity to provide feedback to staff, and they make a decision. If that decision is appealed, it gets appealed to the design commission, and then there's an opportunity for a public hearing before the design commission.
Okay, thank you for that. And then my last question is about FAR and some of the comments that we just heard that were compelling arguments about working in tandem with this height code. And I know there was an item in the housing production strategy that was going to look more deeply into floor area and other kinds of bonuses. And so I'm going to ask, what can we do here, or what are we doing here in this space? And I think, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but did I hear you say in your opening comments that you were exploring this, or there was some work underway?
Yeah.
And if so, what is that work plan and what is the timeline?
So thank you. I'm just going to take a stab at this here, Commissioner Rubio. Thank you. So we are, first, what's before the council today, just to be clear, because people are kind of mixing FAR and height. What's before the council as part of the Planning Commission recommended package is the unlimited height request is already in the package. I think part of your question is about what is really the relationship between FAR and height. I'd like to just spend one moment on that. I think that in our zoning code, height is restricted by base heights and bonus heights. And once you exceed or reach the bonus height, there is no pathway to get more height. With floor area ratios, with FARs, that's not exactly the case. Currently, there's base floor area ratios, there's bonus floor area ratios, and there's actually the ability to transfer unused floor area within specific geographies, like the downtown is divided up into maybe 4 or 5 what we call sectors for purposes of transferring floor area. And people can transfer floor area within those sectors unlimited beyond the floor area that's allowed by base and bonus. So that's why the issue in staff's review and consideration at this time, the issue of floor area is much less of a impediment. Height, I think the proposal to work for height is fine from the staff's perspective, because I think there is room for allowing the flexibility there. And I think also the relationship, height is more about form and flexibility, right? Just creating more flexibility to use the floor area that is allowable. Whereas floor area, again, as we mentioned, is actually increasing intensity and density, and that's the issue that we want to be able to study that further in a project that we're scoping right now, and that will kick off publicly in the beginning of the year. So to answer your final question, Commissioner Rubio, there is a project that is underway that staff is scoping right now. It's one of the actions that was identified in the housing production strategy, and we are undertaking that. That is a near-term project that the BPS staff are working on and will publicly kick off early next year, and that will investigate the FAR issue
Okay,
further.
so you're confirming then that it is in a work plan?
It
for
is in a
sure.
work plan.
Okay. And at the beginning of the year, are you saying that's going to come?
We're going to start kicking it off publicly, right? So,
It's happening right now.
Yes, it's where staff is evaluating what the components of that project are going to be, and then we're going to start a public outreach process in the beginning of the year.
I just want to add to that very quickly. To be clear, BPS planners enthusiastically support tall development downtown. We're the last people who are going to say that's a bad idea. I think the point we're trying to make is there is a vast reservoir of existing FAR already on the table in the Central City Plan, and so we don't see that as a serious constraint right now. Now, the question maybe is it in the right places, and we want to look at that through the project. So that's kind of our perspective on that. And the other concern was that FAR really is our fundamental unit of how we measure density and how the zoning map regulates that. And so that's why infrastructure comes into play, because our street grid and our utility system is calibrated based on the zoning map and what intensities are allowed. And so making it more of a site-by-site question as to how dense it could be, makes it less predictable for infrastructure planning, whereas when we have a map, we can plan to that.
And I think you were asking a little bit about like what's on the table today. We did not look at FAR standards for this project because the state did not require it. We approached this project with our 6-month timeline as a compliance project. We did a crosswalk between what the state required and what we wanted to propose, and we basically matched the state. And I think they did not put density or FAR on the table for all Oregon jurisdictions.
Thank you. I understand that. I just heard it referenced a few times under the Central City project, so that's why I was wondering if it's happening now and if there's a
Yes.
work plan for that now.
Yes, that's the project we were referring to that's happening now. Yes.
All right.
Follow question.
All right, and colleagues, I just want to be mindful of the fact we're already approaching a half an hour over on our first item this afternoon.
Yeah. Quick question on the assumptions on infrastructure demand and FAR. So what are your baseline assumptions as to that relationship? Because you've alluded to it a couple times, the impact on, so what studies have been done? What's your baseline assumption here?
Commissioner Gonzalez, I would just say that when the plan was updated, the 2035, the Central City 2035 plan is the plan that is governing in downtown, and it was adopted in 2018.
Effective
I believe.
2018.
Yeah, effective 2018. All of the technical analysis, transportation analysis, sewer, water was done with an anticipation of what that plan was proposing. So that is the baseline, is the levels of, and you saw the map that we shared that showed where floor area ratios actually were increased in that plan. So there was a substantial amount of area where the floor area was already increased. And it's those baseline assumptions on which the analysis is based. And if people propose these unlimited floor area or request unlimited floor area, that will sort of go up, create capacity above and beyond that baseline that was analyzed for the plan.
And I would just observe, I mean, this is always a discussion around like system development charges as well, right? It's one thing to do the math and make assumptions based on a stated FAR, but that doesn't necessarily mean you increase it by 20%, that the demand on infrastructure increases 20%. I don't think anyone's ever concluded it's linear.
No.
And in urban settings, this becomes particularly pronounced when you have fixed cost or fixed, well, I'm talking cost here, but fixed infrastructure demand. The incremental piece is not, I don't think anyone thinks it's a one-to-one relationship. So just trying to understand, it's just there's been a couple references to impact on the infrastructure, and I just want to.
It's not one-on-one, but we have not had any chance to analyze what impact there could be by virtue of such requests. We'd have to be able to estimate if we allowed this request to these types of adjustments, how much use of that would there be and what would the potential impact of that
So
be?
it boils down to the areas that have lower FARs, we didn't analyze anything higher than that in those areas. There could be constraints around pipes or traffic constraints in those areas that we haven't considered. Those would be the things that would come up in the in an adjustment process probably, but they would also, it's going to be setting us up for more of that conflict in a little bit of an unpredictable way.
I mean, I truly understand the caution in this area. It's just when it's been unpacked, sometimes the caution is proven to be unmerited, at least, when you're talking incrementally, once you get past the baseline. So I'll leave it at
And
that.
we're very interested in looking at places where we can increase the FAR through this upcoming project. There probably is room to do that.
I'm good.
All right, good. Any other questions? Call the roll on the amendment.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The amendment is adopted, and colleagues, I need to do just sort of a check here at this point. If there's nobody planning to bring any more amendments to this, we can go ahead and vote on the final package as amended.
I'm fine.
All right, very
So
good.
just close the record for all testimony, written testimony, and then move to take a vote.
Just what you just said. The record is closed. Please call the roll.
Maps.
I lost track. Are we voting on your amendment
This is
now?
no, we're voting on the final
Okay,
ordinance.
final.
as
All right.
amended.
I want to thank the mayor and staff for their work on this important piece of legislation. Also appreciate the testimony we heard today and the several folks who reached out to council offices to offer advice on how to make this legislation better. I am going to vote in favor of this legislation. At the same time, I did very much hear some of the concerns that were raised today. I've been around City Hall and Portland long enough to know that FAR can get complicated as you unpack that. I'm not quite ready to start that conversation basically on November 1st, when we're looking at this council sunsetting at the end of the year. I do hope that the city administrator and staff continue to explore ways to highlight this issue and bring it back before this council, hopefully in the new year, so we can take advantage of what I anticipate to be a building boom. But in the meantime, I will vote aye on this package of changes, and thank the mayor for bringing it forward.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Yes, I'm voting to support this. I get that it's all about compliance, and it was actually the compelling testimony which made me think further. So this isn't about the vote today, but when I keep hearing the theme of the 2035 plan adopted in 2018, and we all know what's happened since 2020, I look forward to what that adaptation looks like going forward, because I've been hearing that several times now over the past couple of years. So aye on this compliance measure. Thanks.
Gonzalez.
I'm going to support, just would strongly encourage staff to take a hard look at FAR as quickly as possible. And, unfortunately, we've had a lot of substantive pieces come at us today in council. It's leading to a lot of requests to go back to you guys in areas that I think require urgency that this council will not be able to take up. That's where we are in life. So I will vote aye on this, but would encourage the analysis on FAR as quickly as possible.
Wheeler.
This is great staff work. Thank you. You don't get the credit you deserve. I know this is highly technical. I know there's a lot of research and technical analysis that goes into this. I also want to thank the Planning Commission. I want to thank our citizen representatives and people from the community who've come forward and really dug into what is probably one of the meatiest areas that the city of Portland deals in. So I'm very appreciative. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted as amended. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I need to say on this?
No.
Okay, good. We're done with that. 947, please. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Amend signs and related regulations code to allow greater flexibility for signage within the Rose Quarter Entertainment Sign District.
Colleagues, good afternoon. This ordinance is the result of a previous city council resolution. Some of you may remember. It was 37663 to direct the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability to develop legislative proposals to revise signage regulations for the Rose Quarter Events Campus. I will ask Deputy City Administrator Donnie Oliveira and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability staff to present this project.
Thank you, Mayor. Donnie Oliveira for the record. The Rose Quarter is home to the Moda Center, a landmark that connects our city's identity with the Portland Trailblazers and serves as a gathering place for tens of thousands of Portlanders. It serves as a cultural and economic hub for our city. By establishing a new signage district, this proposal ensures the Moda Center and the Rose Quarter campus can use modern, engaging signage on par with other NBA arenas, enhancing the vibrancy of Portland's cityscape. This initiative came directly from negotiations to extend the arena lease with the Rip City Management and Blazers. Our original development agreements, made in the early 90s, laid the groundwork for the Moda Center's construction and have kept the Blazers anchored in Portland. With the lease set to expire in 2025, the city worked to secure the team's commitment to remain in Portland through 2030 with an option to extend to 2035. As part of this lease extension, the city has committed to several actions, including assuming ownership of the Moda Center and purchasing the remaining privately held land beneath it. Revenue from ticket and parking fees will be reinvested to necessary upgrades supporting the longevity of the arena. We also pledge to collaborate with the Blazers to pursue state funding for further renovations, all with the goal of making the Moda Center a place that benefits everyone in Portland. This signage proposal is an integral component of the updated agreement and an important part of ensuring the Moda Center's continued relevance and success. And with that, I'll turn it over to BPS staff and the Planning Commission Vice Chair to provide the specifics of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon. For the record, my name is Sandra Wood, Principal Planner with Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. With me today is Phil Naimany, who is the project manager for this project too, and Patricia Defender for the chief planner for our bureau. This is the second of the 3 land use hearings this afternoon, and we're here again to present the Planning Commission's recommendations for changes to a different city title. It's not the zoning code, it's the sign code, Title 32, as it relates to the area around the Rose Quarter and the Moda Center. So for this agenda item, we will share our presentation. Mayor Wheeler will introduce an amendment that was also published last week, and you'll hear public testimony. We hope to vote on the amendment today and discuss the project before passing it to second reading. This is not an emergency ordinance, so it would need to go to second reading. The Planning Commission adopted the recommended draft for the project and is recommending that you adopt it and amend the land use regulations in the sign code as shown in the draft. In addition, staff is recommending that the non-land use regulations in the sign code be amended to clarify the process for how to register temporary banners. That section of the sign code is not a land use regulation and was not in the purview of the Planning Commission. So the intent of this project, as was mentioned, is to support the City Council's request to allow for greater sign program flexibility for the Rose Quarter. Erica Thompson, our Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, will present their letter after our presentation. But before we get into the proposal, we wanted to share some context about the area. The Rose Quarter area serves an important function within the city today and played a significant role in the city's history. It is located within the boundaries of the central city and is also adjacent to a major transportation hub. It serves as a geographic and social hub of the historic Albina neighborhood. We wanted to place this project in the context of the ongoing efforts that are taking place in the lower Albina area in partnership with Albina Vision Trust and other community and agency partners. This slide may look familiar to commissioners. As has been previously presented, city staff from multiple bureaus are working with a variety of partners, including the Albina Vision Trust, to reconnect the Albina neighborhood and reestablish it as a center of Black Portland and a vibrant part of the city. This work includes using new tools for wealth building for historically underrepresented people from the area while enhancing the adjoining area's role as a major entertainment and transportation hub. Overarchingly, the city's objective for this area is to achieve a reconnected and thriving neighborhood district, centering on leveraging the various projects in the area for wealth building and inclusive economic development, continuing efforts to ensure that our regional entertainment venues thrive and continue to contribute to the social and economic vitality of the city, and ensuring that the area is connected by local and regional multimodal transportation improvements that support mobility in the district and region, including vital goods movements through the city through the I-5 Rose Quarter project and reestablishing Broadway as a pedestrian-friendly main street. The Rose Quarter area is a key piece of reconnecting Albina puzzle, and the Trailblazers have been partnering with the city, Albina Vision Trust, Oregon Department of Transportation, and its advisory board called the Historic Albina Advisory Board, or also known as HAB. We are working towards successful implementation of the many concurrent projects in this area shown on this slide. The Rose Quarter Sign Project is an important component of the efforts to retain the Trailblazers in the city and improve economic vitality of the event venues in the Rose Quarter in keeping with the city's objectives of this area. With that, I'll pass it on to Phil to go over the proposal.
Thank you, Sandra. Phil Naimany with Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. And just want to reiterate what the mayor and DCA Oliver provided in terms of the background. That was the genesis of this project. There's been ongoing negotiations between Rip City Management and the spectator venues that resulted in Resolution 37663, which directed us to develop a sign code package to allow greater sign flexibility that was befitting of a 21st century arena. And we were given the direction to bring this back to council by November 20th, so we are here in advance of that. For context, I just want to provide some overview of the area. This is an aerial view of the Rose Quarter area looking to the north, and shows the Moda Center there on the right and Veterans Memorial Coliseum there on the left. This map shows the area that is being created for the Rose Quarter sign district. For reference, Interstate 5 runs north-south directly east of the area there. Proposed sign district would include the Moda Center, the administrative building, the parking garages there to the north, and the plazas that are in between those. The sign district does exclude the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. This is because the Coliseum is a historic landmark, and the existing sign code, including requirements for historic resource review, is in place for the Coliseum. That process and regulation is not proposed to be changed. So I wanted to provide a brief overview of the current sign code to kind of give a sense of why a change is needed. Title 32 covers all the regulations for signage, including the legal framework, the administration, construction and building requirements, as well as land use component. And the land use component, which is the focus of these amendments, is just the one part of the overall sign code. The current sign code regulates signage primarily by zoning district, and an allotment of sign area is based upon the amount of street frontage of a site. So the arena site is located within the CX Central Commercial Zone and also has a design overlay zone, which is the small d there. Overall signage and the maximum size of any one sign is severely limited, as shown on the slide, and is more relevant to our downtown block structure and the pedestrian orientation of the central city. As an example there, you can see the Moda Center sign that is located in that illustration. That sign is 18 times the maximum size that would normally be allowed on this site without an adjustment. All of the larger Moda signs currently on the buildings did require these modifications, and some forms of signage that are typically found in sports arenas are also currently prohibited. Portland's current sign limitations don't reflect many of the sign programs that are found on arenas around the country, whether they're on older retrofitted arenas such as Madison Square Garden in New York, or on newer complexes such as the Golden One Arena in Sacramento or Chase Center in San Francisco, all of which are shown there. All of these include larger identifying signage and video displays. In contrast, our current code only allows up to a 10 square foot changing image sign, and anything larger requires adjustments for approval. Code amendments would be needed to allow video displays in Portland without being subject to modification or adjustments. Rooftop signage has also become a prominent feature for many new and remodeled arenas, including those shown in LA, Sacramento, and Seattle. They're often used and included in aerial views for telecasts. In Portland, these types of rooftop signs are currently prohibited. The code amendment package would allow for rooftop signage and other comparable signage to those found in these sports arenas around the country, and that would be allowed in this Rose Quarter Entertainment Sign District. So I'm going to go over a little more detail about what the actual sign code amendments are. So then, as we've already iterated, the intent of this project is to amend our sign code to allow those types of signs and the technological innovation that is used by other arenas. Proposal establishes the boundaries of a Rose Quarter Entertainment Sign District within the sign code, waives much of the existing sign code limitations within the boundaries of that district, and replaces it with a small set of standards that allow much greater overall sign allowances and much greater flexibility than the current rules. The new rules still acknowledge and set parameters on some of the sign features that can contribute to distracted driving, such as glare and from changing image signs. The changes also still provide for review of the sign program through the city's design review process to ensure future signs advance good urban design principles, that they are well integrated into and contributing to placemaking of the area, and enhance the visitor experience. So within the Rose Quarter Entertainment Sign District boundary shown there, signs will be exempt from most existing land use provisions of the sign code. That will allow greater variety. The new sign district regulations provide an overall ceiling to the total amount of signage, which is much higher than currently allowed. The amendments allow for a large amount of flexibility within that parameter, including not having a maximum number of individual signs and allowing larger changing image signs than currently provided. Rooftop signs would also now be allowed, and those rooftop signs do not count towards this overall sign allotment. Some operational standards are applied to the larger changing image signs to limit light and glare impacts, including hours of operation for the larger changing image signs. In addition, some standards are applied to signs that are located along the streets and along the I-5 freeway to reduce the potential for distracted driving. But in general, these regulations apply very few parameters to future signs as compared to the existing code. These changes are all within Title 32, which Sandra explained is our sign code. We are not making any changes to our zoning code. So signs larger than 32 square feet will be subject to design review, which can consider how the signs are integrated into existing building features and consider applicable design guidelines from the Central City and Lloyd District. However, the design review does not have to also consider the merits of an adjustment or modification to the sign code as part of its approval. As has already been mentioned, the project that we're bringing forward here came out of the negotiations with the lease agreement with Rip City Management, and initial concepts were shared between them and our group. In addition, we sent notifications to those who had signed on, who had an interest in this project, and sent our legislative notice out to over 300 individuals. Testimony of the Planning Commission was positive, and the Planning Commission made one amendment to the temporary banner section to help clarify those standards before they moved the recommendation. Currently, as of a couple hours ago, I only noticed one piece of written testimony that was on the map app. Now, the mayor will also introduce for consideration by council an amendment that would increase the allowed size of a sign that is located within 100 feet of the I-5 right-of-way and faces the freeway. Our existing sign code limits the size of those individual signs to 200 square feet, and they were initially put in place to minimize distractions for drivers on the highways and bridge approaches. The Planning Commission proposal approved including this restriction adjacent to I-5, which borders the sign district in the new standards. The amendment proposed by the mayor would increase this allowance from 200 square feet to 1,000 square feet, which provides greater flexibility but keeps a partial limit. Note that the code still does limit changing image signs in that area. Also, ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, does have jurisdiction over billboards that are along the state highways. So advertising signs that front and may be visible from the freeway would require their review against state regulations in addition to review by the city. And with that, I will pass it back to Sandra.
And here's the project timeline. It's another quick turnaround, as council directed us to return by November 20th. We plan to have these amendments effective on March 1st, which aligns with the council direction to limit code updates to twice a year. And to reiterate, the Planning Commission recommends that the City Council adopt the recommended draft for this project and amend the land use regulations in the sign code in support of the resolution that was passed. And with consideration of the amendment just presented. In addition, staff recommends that the non-land use regulations in section 32.62 is amended to clarify the temporary banner registration. And that concludes our presentation, and we'll pass it to Planning Commission Vice Chair Erica Thompson again to present the Planning Commission's letter.
Hello, Erica Thompson, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, before you again to share the Planning Commission's recommendation in support of the Rose Quarter Sign Code. The Planning Commission heard testimony in support for this sign code update, which is necessary and fundamental to the modernization of the Moda Center and its success as an entertainment destination and as the home of the Portland Trailblazers. The Planning Commission advanced one amendment of substance, which was to increase the allowable size of temporary banners from 300 square feet to 500 square feet, feeling that this was commensurate with the scale of the facility and the plaza. The Planning Commission also had additional discussion around signs that were visible from the freeway, the potential for distracted driving. We sought to understand the role of ODOT in regulating signs visible from the freeway. We also discussed the importance of maintaining a design review process to ensure that all large signs are consistent with the design guidelines, and the need to consider light pollution and ways to mitigate it where signage involves significant lighting, especially at the roof. However, no amendments were proposed related to these topics. I think that summarizes the highlights, so try to keep it brief and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Thank you. And your colleagues on the Planning Commission, we appreciate this very much.
Yes, of course.
Again, it's not easy duty and the pay isn't particularly good. So
Hey.
thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
Great. Well, with that then, colleagues, first of all, I want to thank BPS staff for responding to the directive of the council resolution in a timely manner. I also appreciate the collaboration with the City Spectator venues staff on this item, and I know they did a tremendous amount of work as this well. Colleagues, before we hear public testimony on this project, I'd like to introduce an amendment that I believe will improve the proposal. You've already heard the staff describe the amendment writ large. Bottom line is the amendment increases the size of signs allowed along the I-5 freeway from 200 square feet to 1,000 square feet. I actually wish we had a schematic that would show you what 200 square feet looks like on the side of the Moda Center. Personally, I would describe it as a postage stamp, and it certainly stands in sharp contrast to the kind of signage you see in other cities who are competing for our entertainment dollars. By allowing larger signs in this area, we're providing greater flexibility for the sign program at the Moda Center. I asked staff to publicize this, what I think is frankly a pretty simple amendment. They posted a memo on the project's website last week. It was, of course, included in this week's agenda. And I also want to thank Dwayne Hankins, who is hiding in the back of the room somewhere. I know he walked in. There he is. He's hiding. He is the president of business operations for the Blazers, and he was the first person to approach me on this issue, and I appreciate very much the collaborative nature of the back and forth we had on this. So thank you for bringing it to our attention and underscoring the importance of this amendment. Colleagues, I'll entertain a second. Second. Thank you. I'll give that one to Commissioner Ryan. So we're moving just to amend the recommended draft with the amendment shown on the memo dated October 23rd, 2024. Commissioner Ryan, I'll give it to you. Commissioner Mapps was hot on your heels. Keelan, how many people do we have signed up for public testimony?
2 people.
All right, let's hear from them, then we'll vote on the amendment and move the package to second.
First up is Dwayne Hankins.
Well, I said all those nice things about him. Now,
There you go.
what if he comes up here and says bad things about
Rebuttal
me?
is
This
in.
is
Pressure's on.
good
Well,
to see you.
Good to see you all. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. So my name is Dwayne Hankins, President of Business Operations for the Trailblazers, as the Mayor said. Joined later by AJ Zahn, our Vice President and Rose Quarter General Manager. So at first, I'd like to thank each of you for your collaboration over the past year, updating the sign code for the Rose Quarter to increase flexibility and allow for modernized exterior signage is an important piece of the bridge agreement that we all finalized together back in August. It is also a key step toward achieving a long-term, fair market, public-private partnership that we will keep the Blazers in Portland for years to come. And our vision of a renovated Moda Center serving as the centerpiece for a revitalized Rose Quarter within a flourishing Lower Albina neighborhood. And modern exterior signage will enhance that experience of everyone who visits, extending the energy from inside the arena to the surrounding plazas. Beyond basketball games and concerts, outdoor signs will create opportunities to expand our community event offerings to activate the Rose Quarter 365 days a year. Arenas in similar cities, as we discussed, have used their outdoor spaces for movie nights, markets, and fairs, and even yoga and fitness classes. Increased lighting, as well as more frequent activation and more foot traffic, will also enhance public safety. The code updates before you will allow us to install the dynamic signs at Moda Center that are a staple of contemporary sports facilities, helping us replicate the success and best practices of new and renovated NBA arenas across the country. Earlier this month, the Portland Metro Chamber hosted a best practices trip to Sacramento, during which we toured the Kings Golden One Center. And their arena has driven economic revitalization of Sacramento's downtown, and modern exterior signage is an important part of the Kings' vibrant, fan-centered atmosphere. Updating city code will create new revenue-generating opportunities and help maintain Moda Center's competitiveness in securing large events like a future NBA or WNBA All-Star Weekend. And at the same time, we want the Moda Center experience to remain authentic to Oregon. With the same familiar environment that has welcomed generations of Oregonians, we aim to activate the Rose Quarter without impacting the wider area. And we appreciate the thoughtful approach adopted by the city staff in developing these code updates, taking into account everything from traffic and pedestrian safety to nighttime impacts. And we believe the recommended draft before you, including the proposed amendment to allow for appropriately scaled signage above Moda Center's east entrance, strikes the right balance. So thank you for your continued partnership, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dwayne. Appreciate you being here.
Next up, we have AJ Zahn.
Hello, AJ.
Hi, I'm AJ Zahn, SVP of Operations and GM of the Rose Quarter. Just wanted to thank you, Mayor, and the commissioners on your time and consideration of this, and appreciation towards the city staff for their partnership. I have no additional prepared testimony, but will defer the rest of my time to any questions that you may have for us.
Great. Colleagues, any questions? You're free to go. Well done. Thank you. Colleagues, if there's no further questions of staff, I would call for a vote on the amendment. Again, it proposes to increase the size allowance for signs along I-5 from 200 square feet to 1,000 square feet. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Lyon.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye. The amendment's adopted. Colleagues, are there any other amendments or items that commissioners wish to discuss? If not, I'm closing both the oral and the written testimony. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. As amended, the second reading is scheduled for November 13th at 10:30 a.m.
We have 10:10 a.m.
Let's do the earlier one, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. So let's err on the side of earlier. So second reading is scheduled for November 13th at 10:10 a.m. time certain. As they say in the sporting world, be there. That's it.
That's what they say.
Thank you. Is there more?
Another next
Oh, you're already, okay, good. I had this horrible thought that there was more. Thank you. 948, please.
Amend Planning and Zoning Code and Property Maintenance Regulations Code to amend and update off-site odor impacts regulations.
All right, colleagues, this is also a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It's a package of amendments to the zoning code and the property maintenance code. This is, of course, first reading. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Rubio, who sponsored this project, to give us some opening remarks. Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to introduce this ordinance that proposes amendments to update Portland's off-site odor regulations. This item came to my attention when the Bureau of Development Services was in my portfolio and received a complaint about odors emanating from a neighborhood restaurant, which had the unfortunate impacts, which prompted immediate attention to update this code to prevent things happening in such a way in the future. Through this situation, I also learned that odor is difficult to regulate and that our rules hadn't been looked at in quite a long time. So I then put all odor-related code complaints in abeyance until we could develop rules that could be enforced more equitably and fairly. Now, today, I am pleased that this project is before City Council for our consideration. These amendments recognize that odor standards are inherently subjective, but necessary for some uses that have the potential to produce noxious odors. They also will provide much-needed clarity and a more equitable approach for both property owners and restaurant owners. So I'd like to thank the staff for their great work on this project, and I'd also like to thank Metro Councilor Duncan Wong Representative Khan Pham, Representative Juan Nguyen, Representative Daniel Nguyen, and a number of restaurant owners for meeting with my office about taking action to update this code. To give you a thorough update and details, I will turn it over to DCA Oliveira and BPS staff.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Don Oliveira for the record. As Commissioner Rubio noted, this code amendments you will hear today showcase the Community and Economic Development Service Area's responsiveness to community concerns that demonstrate BPS's and permitting development's commitment to equity and addressing environmental issues. The project was initiated to address the issues that were raised in the media and by community members regarding the city's odor code, which as it stands can lead to inequitable outcomes for vulnerable communities. BPS staff took a hard look at our current policy, investigating how other jurisdictions, both locally and nationally, handle off-site impacts like odors. Their findings revealed a wide variation in how odor complaints are managed. Portland's existing code, they discovered, is comparatively heavy-handed and long overdue for an update. Because odor perception is inherently subjective, enforcing the code can lead to inconsistent and sometimes inequitable outcomes. There's currently no reliable way to objectively measure odor intensity, which is crucial to fair and just implementation. With these proposed changes, we're looking to bring more balance and fairness to the process. Now, to walk us through the specifics of the proposal, I'll hand it over to Sandra Wood, JP McNeil, and Patricia Diefendorfer. Hey, welcome to the table, folks. First time here, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Us again. So for the record, my name is Sandra Wood. I'm the Code Development Manager at BPS, and with me is JP McNeil, who is the project manager for this project, and of course, Patricia Diefendorfer, our Chief Planner. And because we'll be discussing how the code is enforced, we've invited Mike Liefeld, who is the Zoning Nuisance and Site Inspection Supervisor at Portland Planning and Development, in case you have deep questions about code enforcement. So we're here again to present the Planning Commission's recommendation for the odor code update project. Our plan for today's meeting is that we'll share our presentation and then you'll take public testimony. There are no advanced amendments that have been published, and so you'll have an opportunity for discussion, and then we'll pass it to second reading. The Planning Commission made a recommendation on this project also, and they recommend adopting the recommended draft for this project and amending the zoning code as shown in the draft. In addition, staff is recommending that Title 29, a new city title, for property maintenance is amended. Title 29 is not in the purview of the Planning Commission, so that's why this recommendation is coming directly from staff. Then Erica Thompson, our Vice Chair for the Planning Commission, will be presenting their letter after our presentation. I'll pass it on to JP, who is going to share the proposal with you.
Thanks, Sandra. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm JP McNeil with BPS, and I'm going to walk you through the background and context of the project, and then we'll talk about the proposals. So some initial background. The existing odor code regulations, they're currently found in the zoning code in Chapter 33-262, off-site impacts. Within that chapter, in addition to odor, there's other impacts that are regulated. Noise, vibration, and glare are also in that chapter. And these rules apply to non-residential uses that create impacts in residential, open space, and campus zones. And note that with one small exception, we're only addressing the odor standard with this project because it's uniquely difficult to regulate, as you've sort of already heard from previously. So what the actual standard says, it says that continuous, frequent, or repetitive odors may not be produced. The odor threshold is the point at which an odor may be detected. There's also an exception that an odor detected for less than 15 minutes per day is exempt. To add a little more clarity to that, there's a measurement section of this chapter that states that measurements are taken at the property line. So in short, what it says is that any detectable odor beyond the property line is a code violation. The current system for code compliance is complaint-driven. So when a violation is reported, a city inspector visits the site to determine if there is a violation present. If there is, they issue a notice of violation stipulating a compliance period during which they can bring the violation up to code. If the violation isn't corrected within that time period, code compliance staff can assess code enforcement fees. In most cases, the parties are able to reach some sort of resolution, though there are instances where that isn't so, such as in the case of the restaurant that closed, as we heard. And in that case, the owner reported that it was because the cost of equipment to address the odor violation was just too much. As you've sort of already heard, there are regulatory challenges to regulating odor. And it's because, as we've heard, odor detection, it's subjective, both in terms of preference and sensitivities to smell. And there's no recognized way to measure odor, unlike for sound, where you can measure decibels. In the past, there were attempts to do so. Tools like a scentometer or the nasal ranger, which you see here on the slide, they've been used in the past, but these have been proven to be unreliable instruments outside of a lab setting, so it makes the standard really difficult to enforce. But many businesses, like restaurants and coffee shops, they're going to generate smells, and in an urban setting, it's inevitable that these are going to sometimes cross property lines. So one way to address that would be to require some sort of increased separation between residential and commercial uses, but that runs counter to city policies that encourage mixed-use neighborhoods and amenities within walking distances of residents. So what that leaves us with is a reality that residential and commercial adjacency like that in the city may lead to some conflicts, and there might not be perfect solutions for that. But it's a key ingredient to vibrant neighborhoods for business districts. So, and it's also just one thing to note is that emissions and odor, they're not the same thing. Unlike odor alone, emissions generate particulate matter and pollutants. It's something that's measurable and can have harmful health effects. A little more context, just the number of cases we're looking at within a 5-year period from 2019 to 2023. There were about 4,500 zoning code compliance cases, and of those, 33 were related to odor, and of those, 8 were directly related to restaurants or food carts. And then our regulatory framework, just to sort of place this into our rules into context, the zoning code, the city, well, it regulates odor from smaller scale businesses generally. The Oregon DEQ also regulates odor nuisances from businesses that have a DEQ air quality permit. And so those are generally large industrial uses or larger commercial uses, like a large bakery, like Fran's Bakery would have a DEQ permit. But there are also some other local agencies that might get involved if there are odors that aren't connected to a specific land use, which is what we're talking about with the odor codes that we've been looking at. BPS waste deals with enforcement related to garbage and compost. BPS waste does. And then BES gets involved if there are sewer odors, and they have a sewer odor hotline. And then for something that happens maybe inside of a restaurant, rotting food or that type of smell, some sort of health-related issue, Multnomah County Environmental Health gets involved with that. And our last piece of context before I talk about the proposals is our equity analysis and how we drew equity into this project. So the initial reporting around the restaurant closure was that, and the catalyst for this was questions that were raised on whether the odor rules were inequitable and could be used to target certain types of businesses. So we reviewed research on equity and code compliance cases, including several studies that found complaint-based enforcement systems can lead to disparate impacts. And then our project team, along with staff from PP&D, conducted an equity analysis using the BPS Equity Toolkit. And that toolkit helps us identify and address racial, service, other disparities associated with existing rules, and then also our project proposal. And out of that, we concluded 2 things. One is that since odors are subjective and unable to be measured, the lack of an objective standard can lead to inequitable application of that standard. And that's especially true when that's coupled with a complaint-based enforcement system. And our other conclusion was that and the reason why one of our proposals, which is to increase the number of complainants, is because one person calling in an odor complaint can lead to significant action and expense to a business. All right, with all that out of the way, I'm going to get into what our 4 proposals are. So the goal here is to update the odor code and recognize that odor standards, they're inherently subjective and challenging to enforce, but they're still necessary for some uses that have the potential to produce noxious odors. So our proposals are two are within Title 33 Planning and Zoning Code, and that's to move the odor code from Title 33 to Title 29 Property Maintenance, and another one to eliminate requirements for documentation in advance of compliance with the offsite impacts rules. I'll explain that in a moment. It's a little bit of something that's on the side here. And then our changes to Title 29, where we'll be putting the odor rules, is to exempt retail sales and service uses from the odor regulations and to set some new parameters for enforcement of the odor rules. So the first proposal is to move the odor regulations from Title 33 to 29. The primary reason for that is that regulating odor through the zoning code isn't really the best fit. Zoning code regulations are typically implemented and reviewed with building permits. And the odor rules, this is something that occurs during the operation of a use after a building has been built and the permit's been finalized. So it's not always possible for a city's permit reviewers to review permits for odor impacts because future businesses and operations aren't necessarily known, and then those change over time anyhow. So, and as I mentioned, the odor rules are discretionary, and the building permit review process is an administrative review, and zoning standards that apply to building permits are supposed to be non-discretionary. The second proposal is to exempt retail sales and service uses from the odor regulations. So this proposal recognizes that there's going to be some odor inherent with retail uses like restaurants and food carts. There might not be a perfect solution to that within mixed-use neighborhoods. It still maintains odor regulations for other commercial uses like gas stations and vehicle-related uses. It also maintains regulations for industrial uses, larger commercial uses, and then EQ still gets involved for those other industrial uses. And so one thing, this amendment, it was informed by our equity analysis, which concluded that since odors are subjective and unable to be measured, and couple that with the complaint-based enforcement system. So what we borrowed, and then we borrowed this idea, from other jurisdictions with similar exemptions that we came across in our research. A little bit more about this. This graphic shows us the different use types and what is or isn't being regulated. So here you see the different use categories that the zoning code breaks out land uses in. And so the dashed line is where regulation is now. So everything to the left of that is exempt. So that's right now just residential uses, household living, group living. We're proposing to slide that line over just to exempt retail sales and service uses. And then everything else is still going to be regulated through the odor rules that are now going to be in Title 29. So all of the other commercial uses, like vehicle uses, and then industrial uses as well. One thing to note is that exempting retail sales and service uses from the odor code doesn't mean that there won't be future complaints about odors from retail uses. It does mean that the city's code enforcement staff won't be involved in the position of mediating between businesses and residents for odor complaints. So instead, when issues arise between retail uses and neighbors, there are other avenues for resolution. One is to involve a private mediation service to work out solutions between businesses and neighbors. An example of that is Resolutions Northwest. They offer services for mediation between neighbors. And then as a last resort, there is the civil court system. Our next proposal is to add parameters to the odor regulations when they do apply. And these proposed parameters are to increase the daily allowance where you can have currently 15 minutes of an odor detected per day is exempt. This would up that to 30 minutes for a little more flexibility. And then the second bundle of them is to require complaints from more people in the vicinity. So it will ensure that code enforcement only gets involved when it's clear that the issue is impacting multiple nearby residences. So that's to increase it to 5 complaints from 5 different people within 30 days who live within 150 feet of the site. And this amendment was also informed by our equity analysis work, and also this came out of research that we did of other jurisdictions, including the EQ, that have similar parameters. The final proposal, this is the one-off that actually we're still talking about Title 33, and we're talking about the other off-site impacts and not odor. And this is related to the first proposal in that it addresses challenges of evaluating building permits for off-site impacts. So currently there is a requirement that, that for permits have to demonstrate or document compliance with off-site impacts chapter in advance of a building permit, but it's difficult to evaluate that because these things don't necessarily reveal themselves at the time of building permit, but after operations commence. And so permit staff requested that we remove this requirement because it's difficult to implement and it has been applied inconsistently. So those are our proposals, our outreach and testimony. We work closely with DP&D Code Compliance and Land Use Services. We sent out our notices for the Planning Commission, and there was a Planning Commission hearing with 3 in-person testifiers, 3 written pieces of testimony. Notice again of this hearing for those Planning Commission testifiers, and we've been publicizing this on our BPS e-news, on our project list newsletter. We also did outreach to the district coalitions and met with Southeast Uplift. Here's a quick, our timeline here. We are here on October 30th at our hearing. Hopefully we'll have our vote. I think actually that should say November 20th. Oh, okay, 13th, that's right. And then our effective date for the code amendments would be March 1st of next year. Just this reiterates our recommendation that Sandra started off. The Planning Commission recommends that you adopt the report and amend Title 33 as shown in the recommended draft, as well as amend Title 29 as shown in the recommended draft. That is it for my presentation. With that, I would like to call up Erica Thompson, the Planning Commission Vice Chair again, to present the Planning Commission letter.
Welcome back.
Hello, thank you. Erica Thompson, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, here one last time. This is the last one, right? Okay. Yes, pleased to present the Planning Commission's recommendation in support of the Odor Code Update Project as proposed by staff. As JP pointed out, we received limited testimony on this topic. It was generally mixed with a small handful of folks supporting the proposed changes and a small handful in opposition. As has also been pointed out, the odors are different from the other off-site impacts that are enforced in the zoning code, such as vibration and noise. Odors are subjective, they're difficult to measure, and can't really be reviewed or understood as part of a building permit review process. And so for these reasons, the Planning Commission agreed that the zoning code is not the best place to address or enforce odors, and we support staff's recommendation to instead address them in Title 29. Thank you for all of your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, colleagues, any questions at this particular point?
I have a couple.
Yeah, Commissioner Maps.
Thanks for the presentation and thanks for the work on this important issue. And I also want to recognize Commissioner Rubio for moving into this space. I recognize how we got here, and I also recognize that this is a challenging space. As I think we might have mentioned, BES, for example, I think has a smell hotline, and I think we have something similar over at PBOT too. I just want to make sure I understand some of the dynamics of this legislation. So we're eliminating retail, I think, is that the specific language? Does that mean eliminating restaurant? What does retail mean in this context?
We're exempting retail sales and service uses, and so restaurants and coffee shops are within that, but so are your neighborhood stores, a grocery store, nail salons, other services, hair salons, things like that.
So we're just out of the business of responding to smell complaints at restaurants with this legislation.
That is correct.
How many complaints do we get around restaurants?
There were 8 in the last 5 years.
Okay. well, that's one way to fix the problem. I do kind of wonder what people do if you were to encounter a bad smell or something, which might represent a public health concern. So, for example, I think one case that I think I've heard of is someone reporting a bad smell, which I think was attached to a restaurant, and I think BES probably investigated that one, and the restaurant I think was probably pouring large quantities of dairy product into the sewer system or the stormwater system. Kind of seems like we should investigate situations like that, I think.
That would fall outside now. That wouldn't be something that would really be, we're talking about exterior odors essentially that are going beyond the property or to the property line.
Yep.
So something that's interior like that, that would be more related to the operations of the restaurant interior, where Multnomah County Environmental Health could get involved with that, because that sounds like more of something that's a health issue within the restaurant. And so that we wouldn't be involved with that today.
Okay. And the second question I wanted to follow up on, who can report if you encounter a bad odor in your neighborhood or whatnot? Who can report it? What do I have to do to have standing in this case?
Well, under the proposal today, you would call code compliance. Right now, it wouldn't matter if it was related to a restaurant because that's in abeyance. But with the proposal, it would require 5 of your neighbors or 4 of your neighbors to join you in that complaint.
So here's what I'm trying to get at. I think under the current rules, you have to live within 150 feet. Did you have to have an address?
That's new.
The proposed rule, Commissioner Maps, sorry. That's the proposed rule. That I don't think there's any space or distance requirements currently.
So in the new rule, we're saying 150 feet. And I guess one of the situations, like a lot of us we all work downtown and navigate our streets and we smell something. But I live on the east side, but let's say I'm walking through Old Town, smell something awful. Because I live further than 150 feet away, would I have standing to kind of call you to file a concern in the new rule?
To call the zoning code hotline, no, and that would be, or the property maintenance if it went into Title 29, which is the same folks that would investigate. But no, if you're just walking down the street, they wouldn't open an investigation on that. If it was related to the land use there, if you called up and I think one of the things that came out of this when we were speaking with your staff about this was that maybe there is a better way of addressing how the city takes in complaints like that, because as we said, BES might get involved if there's a sewer, and the Multnomah County Health might get involved if it's inside of a restaurant. And so maybe that's something 311 gets involved with rather than, but that's sort of beyond the scope of what we're talking about with this code issue, because there are lots of different, if there was a central place that somebody called and said, hey, I smell this thing, and they can help them figure out, oh yeah, that's a sewer problem, you should call BES, or yeah, that sounds like that's the restaurant, and you need to call environmental health, but that's kind of a little bit beyond what I think we're talking about here.
And I think there's a difference between calling the city to have someone investigate versus calling the city, have someone investigate and enforce. So the word enforce means that there's a code that's being violated, that it needs to be rectified. In many of the cases that we looked at, it was also like an investigation or a conversation with the, it could be even about food scraps. And our team goes out there and says, maybe you should have collection twice a week. That's a different situation than enforcement and asking somebody to invest in their property to the degree that it might be cost prohibitive. And why we decided to exempt retail sales and service uses in particular, there are many other commercial uses. Vehicle repair, quick vehicle servicing, we're not saying that those are exempt. We're saying retail uses are exempt, or we're proposing that, because those are woven into the fabric of our neighborhoods. They're the ground floor of our mixed-use neighborhoods, and we want people to walk to them, and we want them to be close. And we think that it's pretty self-policing also, because if a neighborhood, if a restaurant is emitting odors or there's some strange smell, I think the workers in that restaurant will notice it. The patrons will notice it. And as we found out, there's been only 8 complaints over the last 5 years. So
Okay.
Well, Commissioner, I think alluding to the 311 comment, we are going through in the new transition of government, looking at a different structure for constituent complaints and constituent issues. And so I think a call that somebody might have said, oh, I called plan or permitting and development before, and I'm going to call them again, hopefully that would get shuffled to 311. We would have a tracking system on it. It could be that it's a sewer issue. Right. It could be that it's a solid waste issue. But hopefully we would be able to navigate that with a new, more structured constituent system. And there is a big difference between taking a complaint and trying to figure out where it goes versus necessarily an enforcement issue. So.
Thank you. That's helpful. And I'll share this last bit and then create some space for us for other people to talk or move on to a new topic. I think it might have even been yesterday. This council had a work session where we talked about what legislation, what rules should be in code and what rules should be in administrative rules. And especially the odor code, because there are so many aspects to it which are subjective perhaps, and I think we got at least 3 different kinds of odor complaints going around. I got what happens over in environmental services. I got a PBOT space, and I have the space that we're talking about today. I do wonder if maybe a more effective strategy for managing this space might be to put some of these rules that we're talking about today into administrative rules as opposed to code, which is something we can informally talk about over the next 8 days. No more questions unless someone has a response. I'm good, Mr.
Great. Colleagues, any other questions? Keelan, public testimony?
We have 2 people signed up.
All right, let's hear them. Thank you all.
First up, we have Scott Everest online.
Welcome, Scott.
Scott, you're muted.
Okay, my name is Scott Everest. My address is 3924 Northeast 72nd Avenue. I'm 72 years old. I was born at Emmanuel Hospital, lived here pretty much my whole life. Okay, I'm the owner of the building at 7330 Northeast Fremont Street. My previous tenant, Fagabo, was driven out of the business due to the weaponization of the odor ordinance by an anonymous individual neighbor, using the ordinance to get the city to levy liens against my property. Okay, I am now trying to sell the building. Again, I'm 72 years old, and anyway, this has had a negative impact on my sale of the building. I have had half a dozen entities interested in the building. I have had no offers. And I think what I'm kind of hearing from from my realtor is minority restaurant buyers do not want to purchase a building that after HVAC improvements will not guarantee that they can still be a restaurant. And, due to, like I say, one person being able to continually say, well, I don't want a minority restaurant here, or whatever their problem is, and just be able to run the fines to where they're out of business. Okay, so thank you for taking my comments, and if you got any questions, I'd be happy to.
All right, thank you, sir. Thanks for your testimony. We appreciate that.
Next up, we have Grace Henricks online.
Welcome, Grace.
Hi, thank you. My name's Grace Henricks, and I am with Apano. We're a community-based organization serving the Asian Pacific Islander community here in Portland and the greater Tri-County area. I'm a small business advisor working as part of the Inclusive Business Resource Network within the Prosper Portland program. And I worked with a business owner who was subjected to 2 odor complaints. And he wasn't in communication with me during the time that he received the complaints. But I did speak with him several times after he had closed his business. And while the fines were expensive and the proposed renovations to his hood system were cost prohibitive, he essentially felt that he was forced to close down because he felt he was being targeted, and that after the complaints and the neighborhood, the complaints came from the neighbor, he felt that he didn't really have a future in that location. And I appreciate that this change to this code is being viewed through a lens of equity, because that was definitely a sense that this business owner felt that he was really forced to close, and that it was through just a sense of being harassed. And as has been mentioned today, that we all know small businesses are the backbone of our community and economic stability and strength of our city. And I really do support this idea of the changes to the odor code. And as also was mentioned, that it's understood that the odor, the response or the viewing of odors is subjective and personal. And yeah, so just wanted to share that, and thank you for the opportunity for the testimony. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your testimony. And that completes public testimony. Colleagues, any further questions at this point? If not, I am closing both the oral and written record. Since there are no amendments and no need for further discussion, this item is passed to second reading. Second reading is scheduled for November 13th at what time, Keelan?
10:15.
10:15 a.m. time certain. Thank you, everybody, for that. Why don't we take a ninth inning stretch here for a couple of minutes? We've been in session for many, many hours. Let's just take about a 7-minute break, please. We're in recess. couple more hours, and you absolutely will.
I believe this thing's going extra innings, Mayor.
It's going extra innings.
We're definitely in the playoffs here. All right, item number 949. This is that's interesting. It doesn't say on that thing. Is this a resolution?
It's a resolution.
Resolution 949.
Declare support for Portland Diamond Project efforts to bring Major League Baseball to Portland and construct a new stadium in the South Waterfront neighborhood at Zidell Yards.
Colleagues, this resolution marks an important moment for the city of Portland. While there has certainly been a lot of very positive talk about professional baseball in Portland, and this talk has gone on for many years, over the years, the city staff and elected officials have discussed the possibilities. But this council has not, up until this moment, taken public, unified, and decisive action to direct staff to pursue a Major League Baseball franchise in the city of Portland. The resolution I've brought before you today formally does just that. This is a necessary and important step. It will send a signal to Major League Baseball, to the baseball commissioner, and indeed to the rest of the country, that the city of Portland is very serious about this, that we're ready to step up, that we're ready to make commitments, that we're ready to work hand in hand with the private sector and community organizations to move MLB forward in the city of Portland. Specifically, what this resolution does is it directs staff to work with the Portland Diamond Project to put all of the necessary pieces in place to make the city of Portland the obvious choice for a baseball expansion team. And it specifically does three things. First of all, it instructs the city administrator, Michael Jordan, to put together a citywide team that will work together with the Diamond Project and all other necessary community parties. Second, it prioritizes the development of the Zidell Yards to be the home of Portland's team, including the location of a stadium. And third, it directs Michael and his team to support the development of creating the most competitive package possible for the city of Portland, and that can encompass many different aspects. The competitive package is an important component of this plan, and it answers the question of why we needed a resolution, why it requires council action at this time. Major League Baseball will be expanding by 2 teams in the very near future. That's been known for some time. And during that time, cities across the country have been preparing proposals and packages to convince MLB that their cities should be selected. As we know, the Portland Diamond Project has been working at putting together a competitive proposal for the city of Portland. And based on everything we have heard up to this point, Portland should be in the lead. Portland is the most appropriate market in the United States for an expansion team. And what we are going to prove today is that the city of Portland is ready to partner with the Portland Diamond Project to make this a reality. We are here to compete, but most importantly, we are here to win. The city needs to clearly state our interest, and this resolution is a first step in doing that. We'll start our presentation today with none other than DCA Donnie Olivero. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, Donnie Olivero for the record. Thank you, Mayor, for that introduction. So, Commissioners, throughout today, through all the various conversations we've had, we've discussed the very real challenges that Portland's facing. And they are real. We've discussed it, we broke it down, the challenges of building housing, our economic rebound. But today, at this moment, for this particular resolution, this is the topic of possibility. It's a moment that council gets to signal to the world that Portland is again ready for great things. Because as the mayor noted, the direction given to staff is the city's statement that we are leaning into the possibility of prosperity and joy. Because there are real signs already that others are already seeing that potential and promise. Whether it's the WNBA coming to Portland, it's thousands of people descending on Providence Park for concerts, or music venues competing to open up shop in Portland, people have seen that excellence and are trying to come back here. And it's time for us to lean into that same energy and say, yeah, we can do that too. And so I'm going to stop there. I had some other notes because we've been here a long time. But my family would destroy me if I didn't use this moment to drop a quote from one of my favorite movies of all time, Field of Dreams. I can't help it. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a kind of a baseball junkie. Short one by the great late James Earl Jones. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. And I think that time is for Portland is right now. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Craig Cheek from the Portland Diamond Project to talk about baseball in Portland. Craig?
Yep, he's right behind you. Welcome, Craig.
Wow, what a great intro. And that is one of my favorite lines of all time. I would be remiss if I didn't start off with a couple of thank yous. So I want to give a shout out to my team. The PDP team is here. Sport Oregon is here. Jay and Charlene Zidell have joined us as well. So in case you didn't know who may be out in the audience supporting us, I wanted to make sure that I thank them personally for all of the work that they're pouring into this. So again, it's Craig Cheek. I am the founder and the president of the Portland Diamond Project. I feel like it's been a marathon that has now turned into a sprint. My team knows how much blood, sweat, and tears we have poured into this, but this truly is time to kind of meet the moment. So I represent the ownership team behind the Portland Diamond Project. And we are a group. We're a group of business leaders, elite athletes, investors, and a dedicated and rabid sports fan who are united under one big vision, which is the hope and dream that we can bring a Major League Baseball team to Portland. So I would like to personally thank Mayor Wheeler, you and the City Council and your staffs for this opportunity to collaborate now on this resolution that is coming before you today. It's a very big deal to us. As you mentioned, this is going to send a huge message back to Major League Baseball. And for that, we are thankful. And I would say, I would enthusiastically ask for your support on this resolution because I think it really moves the needle for us. We know that this is bigger than a ballpark. We're talking about the opportunity to transform a district in a very scenic part of South Waterfront. So I've been watching closely the architectural renderings that are coming out, and I can tell you when we get ready to unveil those in the near future, it is going to captivate the hope and the dreams of a lot of fans and really unlock this incredible opportunity for us as a city and a region. So this is a big deal. We are committed to partnering with the city and aligning with your goals around sustainability. We actually believe this could be the first LEED Platinum or the most compelling environmentally friendly ballpark built in the entire stable of MLB. We understand this could unlock incredible economic opportunities for all Portlanders. And of course, we're going to be looking at equity and picking all of our partners very carefully as this is a very, very big project. We know we're in the early stages still. It's felt like a marathon to us, but it's now time to send the message that we are aligned. And these are complex, big, bold deals that require public and private partnership. And I think that is the secret sauce to unlocking this, is now having the opportunity to use your support, your horsepower to send a message that we can get this thing to the finish line. I am supremely confident that professional baseball can come to Portland, and this would be a big step forward. Just a quick historical. So we missed out in 2003. Mayor Vera Katz put a valiant and charismatic effort back to try to get the Montreal Expos here to Portland. That was over 20 years ago. We also missed the last expansion round over 20 years ago that added 2 new teams, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Rays. Baseball is a game of failure. You can strike out and miss 7 of 10 times and still get into the Hall of Fame. Our team is believing that failure is not an option here. We are in such a different place strategically with Major League Baseball and with this effort, and your support would be so meaningful. Let's keep working on it together. You have our undying commitment to keep grinding away on this. And we have kind of 2 mantras we've been living by. We do believe that Portland is better with baseball. We made T-shirts, we've done some cool things with it. We also have another saying that there is no rest until opening day. So I enthusiastically ask for your support. I would welcome you all back to opening day, and let's do this. This is very transformative for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Thank you, Donnie. Colleagues, any questions at this particular juncture? Keelan, how many people do we have signed up?
We have 6 people signed.
All right, we have 6 people. As a courtesy, I'll ask Julia Brim-Edwards to please come forward first. We'll get her back to work, across the river at the county as quickly as we can.
Every day.
Every day. Welcome, Julia. Thank you for being here.
But as I always say, nothing happens that's not in partnership with the city of Portland. And I mean that. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, commissioners. I'm Julia Brim-Edwards. I'm a longtime Portlander and a Multnomah County Commissioner, District 3. I'm thrilled to see the Portland City Council moving ahead with this resolution and moving ahead with baseball. Sports has been a major influence and inspiration in my life. As a beneficiary of Title IX, I was a six-sport high school athlete, including a varsity softball player. Growing up in Portland, I had the opportunity to cheer for the Beavers baseball team, the Timbers, the Winterhawks, of course, the Portland Trailblazers, as well as all the female athletes across the country who showed that when Title IX happened, that women, whether they benefited from Title IX or they pushed their way in, were incredible, inspiring athletes. And I also feel lucky to live in a community that rallies behind and supports our teams and our athletes, from our youngest kick and chase soccer players through our high school and college. And I will say some of those Duck fans are a little bit too enthusiastic. I won't mention names, Commissioner Ryan. But we're also fans of our local semi-pro and professional teams. And we've provided unrivaled support for the Thorns. And I'm proud to be the District 3 Commissioner, whose district is home to the Portland Pickles, another baseball team. However, our local sports scene has been missing a cornerstone team, and that is a Major League Baseball team. And this is much more than just bringing a professional baseball team to Portland. It's also about the economic benefits that will follow. Sports and the industries related to sports have an immense economic impact on our economy, and a Major League Baseball team will add to that. Oregon is the global epicenter of the athletic footwear and apparel industry, led by local companies Nike and Columbia. But there's also a vast network of small businesses that are part of the broader ecosystem. And those businesses, both large and small, contribute highly skilled jobs, but also high wage family jobs, and also add billions of dollars of economic impact to the state. A recent report found that Oregon's athletic, outdoor, team, and recreation ecosystem created $29 billion a year in economic output, both direct and indirect. Just a few more minutes just to finish. Portland needs a win right now. We need to get our elbows out and get on the offense. We can build on the announcement from the NBA, this week's James Beard public market announcement. I have confidence in the city and in the Portland Diamond Project and bringing baseball here. I'm excited about the progress and the signing of the letter of intent with Zidell Yards. What that means, I think, is a key milestone. I think the city's announcement and action today will send a strong signal that we're ready for Major League Baseball in this town. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to, from the county, being a partner and a champion for this project. Thank you.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to be here, and thank you for everything you're doing for our community and furthering the relationship between the city and the county. Much appreciated.
And likewise, thank you.
Thank you
to all of you.
Next up, we have Robert Butler.
Mr. Butler,
Does it?
is he online?
No. Okay, so we'll move on. Jim Etzel?
Welcome, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, City Administrators, good afternoon and great seeing you all. I'm Jim Etzel, CEO of Sport Oregon. Sport Oregon is a nonprofit association with over 150 diverse members whose mission is to spur economic growth and enhance positive social impacts through sports. We do this with our focus on sports tourism and access to sports and recreation, especially for youth. We work to bring regional, national, and international sporting events to our city and state that drive economic and quality of life impacts for Oregon. On behalf of our more than 110 board of directors, Sport Oregon strongly supports the resolution to declare support for the Portland Diamond Project efforts to bring Major League Baseball to Portland and construct a new stadium in the South Waterfront neighborhoods at Zidell Yards. Sports are an integral to the identity of our city, the region, and the state, along with Portland's Trailblazers, Timbers, Thorns, and Portland's new WNBA team. The addition of a Major League Baseball team with 81 home games will catapult Portland and the state as a major player in the world of sport. It is without question that sports are a telling reflection of a society's values, and they are a significant contributor as well This is at the core of Portland's DNA. With Major League Baseball eyeing its expansion with 2 new franchises, we know that Nashville is well positioned with its efforts and that Salt Lake City is as well and has emerged as a competitor for a West Coast team. Portland must step up now, and this resolution does just that. It's encouraging to see this resolution being voted on today. This is what Major League Baseball's commissioner and leadership needs to see. We must boldly and loudly proclaim that Portland wants to be selected for an expansion team and that it supports the Portland Diamond Project's efforts. A particular part of the resolution in front of you resonates greatly with me and the organization I lead. Whereas the future strength of Portland's Central City depends on a large part on robust sports, entertainment, I would add arts, travel, and tourism offerings to ensure it remains an attractive area for investment and development, we can't agree more. We urge you to support the resolution and the next steps that it lays out by unanimous vote. Portland needs to send a strong message that we want Major League Baseball team and that we are and always will be a top 25 market. Thank you for your efforts on behalf of the future of Portland.
Thank you, Jim.
Next up, we have Will Misspelt.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everyone. Hello, City Council, Mr. Mayor, City Administrator Jordan. My name is Will Mespelt. I am a resident in North Portland. I happen to also be running for City Council District 2 as well. More importantly, I'm just a regular guy with who is part of a baseball club and is raising 2 little boys who I hope that'll love baseball like me one day. And it would bring me so much joy to be able to bring them to a local Major League Baseball game one day when they're a little bit older. So I am a part of Portland Community Baseball Club. We have over 850 members, way more than that even, official members, who love baseball. We play sandlot-style baseball every Saturday in North Portland, weather permitting, at Pier Park. And one of the common themes is everyone wants to have our own baseball team. Everyone's tired of traveling to the city up in Washington to watch the games. It would be a great shame for us to lose out on Major League Baseball to cities in North Carolina, Tennessee, or Utah. I've been to these places. I lived in North Carolina my whole life. They might play baseball, but Portland has the most intense and most passionate and most caring baseball fans and players that I've ever seen, having played baseball my whole life. Coming to Portland and be able to just show up without being on a team and being able to play baseball and have fun is amazing. The fans we will have will be amazing. In one of my offices at work, we have a picture of Lucky Beaver Stadium from their highest attendance day, which is, I think, over 40,000 people back in like the 50s. And we could easily do that in Portland, especially with all of the great things we can have going for us. We have a great, hopeful future, and this would mean the world to downtown. We'd be able to have so much more economic activity that we all desperately want and need, and I think that this is a huge step. So please support and unanimously support this resolution so that we can bring MLB to baseball to Portland. And I'm going to talk Rob Manfred and the 30 owners. They know how important economics are. They're going to make their decision based on future money. And if we can present ourselves in a way where Portland is not in the way of getting to their economic goals, whatever they are, we want to do them. So Rob Manfred, we need you to think of us kindly whenever you're coming to team. We don't want another team in Utah or in Tennessee. We want it here in Portland. Thanks.
Thank you. Well said. Appreciate it.
Andrew Hone.
Andrew, thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
Again, thank you.
Again. See you tomorrow, too. Andrew Hone, President and CEO, and proud lobbyist of the Portland Metro Chamber. It's also good to see you again, multiples of you again today. I do want to take a moment to recognize and appreciate the city's efforts on looking out for the safety and integrity of our elections upcoming. Today was a special moment to stand side by side with all of you to declare that this will be a safe place in our city, and I appreciate all your actions you've taken. With that, we are, of course, pleased to add our full support of this resolution to bring a Major League Baseball team to Portland, and we urge the City Council to approve the resolution for the economic, cultural, and social benefit that this project would bring to the entire Portland region. As you recall, and as Commissioner Brim Edwards shared, the Chamber joined with Prosper Portland and many of the folks that are in this room to present the Council with an economic analysis of the athletic, outdoor team, and recreation economy called Oregon, the State of Sport. This report calculated that, as you've heard, the economy here generates a $29 billion in economic activity across the state. And in Greater Portland, this translates to 45,000 jobs, with more than half of those being family wage jobs. And relative to the topic at hand, more than a third of the total jobs in our sport economy are in major sporting events. If Oregon is indeed the global state of sport, then Portland is unquestioningly its epicenter and global capital. A future MLB stadium will reinforce and strengthen this position, and a team will create economic opportunity and civic pride, new jobs, community spaces, tax revenue, businesses, and life, not only to the city's urban core, but to the surrounding metro region. Now is the time to make the bold investments to transform Portland's future. With a ballpark in the heart of our central city, we can build a sport and entertainment destination that drives development that everyone will benefit from. With investments in the OMSI district across the river, linked by the Tillicum Crossing Bridge, I hope you can see a future where our waterfront is finally open to the public with major cultural attractions sitting astride our most beautiful and important asset, and what was the catalyst for our city, the Willamette River. This council's leadership and collaboration are crucial to showing Major League Baseball that our entire city is behind the shared vision to make Portland better with baseball. And while you are being asked to support this resolution, it should be noted that it is because of each of you and your staff that we are in this position today. You continue to follow through on the tenets of our city's economic development strategy, Advance Portland. And this is one of more outcomes from the execution of that plan. You have truly made Portland open for business, and we thank you. With that, please vote yes on Resolution 949.
Thanks, Andrew.
Craig Cheek.
All right, thank you, Craig.
Okay, that completes testimony.
All right, very good. Anything else for the good of the order, colleagues? If not, please call the roll.
Maps.
I'd like to thank Mayor Wheeler for bringing this resolution forward. As always, I also want to recognize the Portland Diamond Project for their commitment to this exciting vision. And of course, I also want to recognize everyone who testified today and took time out of their day to join us in person in these chambers to express their support for bringing Major League Baseball to Portland. Like a lot of you, I view this as being an exciting proposition. Can't wait to take my kids to the new stadium along the Willamette River. I am committed to making sure that I can do everything within my power to make this happen, which is why I vote aye.
Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor, for bringing this forward today, and I'm so glad that all of us are finally at this moment. It's been a really, really long road, but one that makes getting here and arriving here all that much sweeter and more special. And just to quote Andrew, back to you, Andrew, things are just better with baseball. I like how you said that. With this project, we're just ushering in truly a new chapter for Portland. And with these significant investments and momentum building, it signals our progress forward and our commitment to being a major sports city. And I also want to say that along with this catalytic sports opportunity comes our commitment to community benefits as well. So I want to lift up the importance of ensuring a strong partnership commitment that also brings housing development, minority and women contracting opportunities, good jobs, and labor harmony. So thank you to city staff, the Diamond Project team, Espousal Strategies, Sport Oregon, and the Zidell family for believing in this project and for moving us closer to the goal. In the meantime, I'll be crossing my fingers and lighting my candles at home until we receive good news. And I really look forward to celebrating with everyone on opening day. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wheeler, the team at the Diamond Project, and the Zidell family. I was just thinking, the two largest markets in our country are battling it out in the World Series, but the real action in Major League Baseball is taking place right here in this dreary Portland, Oregon this afternoon, and you're all here to witness history. So thank you for being here. My hometown has a rich history with baseball, and it's time for us to play in the major leagues. I can't think of a better postcard view than watching home runs with the beautiful Willamette River and Mount Hood in the background. The point is, wait, sorry, that was moved up. This is really just a transformational opportunity for my hometown. It's a catalyst economic growth and revitalization. It's going to bring so many new businesses and restaurants and housing options and tourism to our city's core. And I do want you to imagine this. Think of a late spring evening, there's a crack of the bat as a camera captures the home run that goes over the wall. I'm designing the park right now for you. And it goes in the Willamette River, doesn't go in, doesn't pollute. Someone catches it that's on a kayak or a dragon boat, right? And then you say, well, San Francisco already has that. But no, I think not. Do they have Mount Hood behind that picture? No. So there you are. We're smiling about this opportunity because people from Bend to Baltimore to Bangkok will be watching and they'll be like, I need to get to Portland, Oregon. I want to experience that setting. It's that special. So Portland, it's time to think big. It's time to showcase our family. It's also remember, baseball's about families. So of all the other sports ball, I will say this about baseball. It's a long weekend, right? So you have 3 games. And say you moved here from Baltimore and you live in Bend, and you bring your entire family to Portland for the weekend. You book a hotel for 3 nights, you go to the zoo, you go to OMSI, you go to all the gardens, and you definitely go to the games. And so they're here all weekend spending a lot of money. It's a really big proposition that even the NFL can't offer. So that's why baseball is a good business decision for our city. And also remember this, we're a really dry season in the summer compared to other markets. We won't have a lot of rainouts. And so remember that this is also an appetizing opportunity for us to be excited about summer again. We have the Timbers and we also have baseball. So Portland, this is an opportunity to build pride as we make it clear our city is ready for the big leagues. Let's rally, let's play hardball to make the case that we are the obvious next franchise for Major League Baseball. I vote aye.
Gonzalez.
Bringing Major League Baseball to the river represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to strengthen the social fabric, to create a place where Portland can cheer, can play, can dream. It is an opportunity to create thousands of family wage jobs. It's time to swing for the fences. I want to thank the Zidels and the Diamond Project for their vision. It is important to note that we have much work to do. This resolution and the contract to purchase Zidell Yard are important steps, but putting together a financial package that makes sense to the city, potential investors, and Major League Baseball is going to take work, effort, some downright hustle, and due diligence, including working with the state legislature to complete the financial package. Portland needs protection. It needs restoration, but it also needs to dream and to compete. Today's action is a commitment to work together, to work as a team, to dream, to compete on a national stage, to collectively put our best foot forward. Swing of it way. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I've already used as many sports analogies as I could conjure up, so I won't. But I do want to join my colleagues in thanking so many people in the community who've really led this effort, starting, of course, with the Diamond Project, Craig and Jennifer and the whole team. Thank you for your consistent push, your consistent leadership, bringing new ideas, remaining flexible, and throughout it all, working with the city of Portland. To that end, I also want to thank Donnie, wherever he disappeared to, right over here with the other DCAs and the city staff. They've put a tremendous amount of time and energy into this and brought some really good ideas and problem solving to the table. That's the kind of spirited thinking and innovation that's going to have to continue to carry the day as this project unfolds over the coming months and years. Jay and Charlene, I feel like we're almost end capping where we began so many years ago with Zidell Yards. And Jay, I remember standing with you and Charlene when we were launching that last barge into the river and it just didn't want to go. It was sending a signal to us that there is more yet to be done and there were bigger visions to be had. And I want to thank both of you and your entire family, the Zidell family, for continuing to stick it out, continuing to think of ways that the Zidell yards could be used for the highest maximum benefit for the city of Portland. And I don't think 8 years ago any of us could have considered this as a possibility, but because you remained open-minded, because you continued to think about the legacy of your family and the importance to this city, we now have this opportunity here before us. So thanks to you. And Sport Oregon, of course, you guys at every step of the way have been relentless. I'll just say that. Thank you so much for your profound and continued leadership. I want to say this, and it's similar to what my colleagues have said. After COVID, cities have to fundamentally rethink how they are going to vision themselves for the future. And sports has become an incredibly important part of a vibrant and economically successful city. And I'm really, really happy that we're building on the momentum that we have as a result of the WNBA, looking at Portland's market and realizing that this was the right market for the WNBA to expand. There were a lot of cities that competed for that opportunity. When they look at the market here in the city of Portland, MLB is going to realize that this is the logical place from a market perspective for them to locate an MLB team. So the only question that will be in their mind is, can those folks in Portland pull it off? Can they collaborate? Can they work together? Can they overcome development obstacles? Can they raise the resources that are necessary to get it done? And I believe what we are saying today through resolution is we sure as hell can, and we're going to. But there will be many obstacles and roadblocks along the way between now and the actual shovels in the ground. We're going to have to think bigger than maybe we have thought previously. We're going to have to take larger risks than municipal governments are typically prone to take. And we're going to have to call on our private sector to step up in a way and partner with us in ways that maybe we haven't been partnering in the past. So this is an opportunity to really think about the future. I'll close with this. People don't have to be in cities anymore. That is the hardest lesson of COVID in 2020. They do not have to be here anymore. People can be virtual, they can be online, they can be in any number of cities that have other attributes anywhere in the United States, or frankly, anywhere on earth. So the key is you have to make people want to be in cities. And a large part of that, as we all well know here at this dais, is activation and events and activities. And sports is front and center as one of those opportunities that makes people want to be here. So it is worth the extra investment. It is worth the extra work that we'll have to put in to overcome the many obstacles that will arise in the coming months and years. So thank you. This is community driven. This is reflective of the collaboration in the community. I'm happy to help in any way I can, either here from this chair or in the future. I know my colleagues feel the same. I vote aye and the resolution is adopted. Thank you, everybody. Now back to the consent agenda from this morning. Colleagues, item number 935. Keelan, can you read it and I'll bring it back to my office?
Authorize intergovernmental agreement between Housing Bureau and Multnomah County for $162,700 to support a staff position to administer permanent supportive housing program.
Colleagues, I'm returning this to my office for further work. Could you please call item 937?
Authorize contract with the lowest responsible bidder for the North Willamette Boulevard Active Transportation Corridor Project.
Commissioner Ryan, I understand you pulled 937, is that correct?
I did. I pulled it after hearing from several constituents about this issue, and they asked me to pull it from consent.
All right.
And I think at least one of them I know of is going to testify.
Great. Priya, do you want to go ahead and jump into this one for us, please?
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. I'm Priya Dhanapal, DCA for Public Works. This project is a significant advancement for active transportation in our city with a total estimated cost of about $6,097,000. The project will enhance North Willamette Boulevard by adding 3 miles of protected bike lanes, upgrading bus stops, and enhancing safety and accessibility improvements between North Rosa Parkways and North Richmond Avenue. As we near the final design phase, PBOT seeks authorization through this ordinance to initiate the procurement process for construction, allowing us to move forward with bidding and aim for a 2025 start. Public involvement, which is one of the reasons why this item has been pulled, is a key priority for this initiative. I want to emphasize that the significant community involvement has gone into this project, and I've invited staff to share details of our outreach efforts thus far and to outline future opportunities for community input as we finalize the design and move into the competitive bidding process. With that, I invite David Bax, PBOT Project Manager, to present further information.
Great, thank you. I'm beaming in from St. John's today. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, and we see you as well.
Okay, David Backus for the record. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, DCA. I'm gonna attempt to share my screen here.
Well, if it works, you'll be the first person this week. There it is.
All
You
right.
did it.
Good. Okay,
Well done.
well, that's done. All right. Thank you. I'm the Capital Project Manager for the North Willamette Boulevard Active Transportation Corridor Project. I have a couple brief slides about the project scope and really just wanted to lay out some of the public involvement we've been doing over the past 6 years now at the Bureau, getting this project set up for construction beginning hopefully this coming summer, 2025. Well, I got it shared, but now I can't advance the slides. So let's see what we are. Oh, there we go. Okay. So as our DCA mentioned, this is a $6 million federally funded project stretching from North Richmond in the St. John's neighborhood where I am, all the way to North Rosa Parks Way to create about a 3-mile all ages and abilities protected bike facility with new ADA crosswalks, better bus stops, additional lighting and traffic calming along the corridor as well. It's actually a set of 3 coordinated projects, 2 of which were under construction over the summer. The dust is kind of settling on some of that stuff right now as we move into final design for the larger federally funded project that I mentioned will be under construction fairly soon here. There's a PBOT maintenance project that did some paving work, new crosswalks, new lane configurations and striping in the center area shown in red, pretty close to University of Portland. And then further up towards St. John's, we also had some bike lanes and new crosswalks added where there haven't historically been bike lanes in the past to connect that facility all the way into St. John's where the bike lanes previously had ended. As I mentioned, it's been a long road to get where we are today. PBOT's planning and public engagement work began in 2018. In the kind of planning and project development phases early on, attended 25 or so public meetings and presentations. You can see my colleague Shane discussing the project and that board up, I believe, at a farmer's market. Summer 2023, we led a bike ride and have had many other touch points throughout the way during the planning phase. This project came with some significant changes to the lane configurations, including some on-street parking removal. We've been working very closely with neighbors on those impacts throughout the last few years as well. Moving into the design phase, this is where I came on board, I think around 2021. So I've been on this project for the last few years. Was partially selected for this project because Willamette Boulevard is my regular e-bike commuting route into downtown. So I was able to today ride Willamette a couple more times. And what we've been doing over the past few years is really trying to have as many kind of face-to-face touch points with the community as possible. That picture on the upper left, you can see our traffic engineer, Andy, who also lives in the neighborhood, meeting on site with some neighbors, discussing a parking cutout that we actually just finished construction on a couple of years ago for a family there that had no driveway. We were removing parking. They hold an ADA placard, and we weren't comfortable moving forward without having a place for them to park near their home. So, you can also see me.
Can I
oh,
interrupt
yeah.
for just one moment?
Sure.
I'm really sorry to do this, but I just want to point out that time is of the essence. Everybody up here except me has campaign events this evening, and we've been convened since early this morning. And so maybe if I could just ask everybody who's presenting on everything for the remainder of this meeting to really stick to the most important, the most salient issues, so that hopefully I can get the council out of here by 6 p.m. so they can go off to their evening events.
And we have time for the public testimony.
And adequate time for public testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I'm sorry, that comes across as very rude, and I don't mean it that way. I just want to be cognizant of the fact that my colleagues all have long nights ahead of them.
We've had a long day, I understand that. I'm requesting staff to focus on the remaining public opportunities and go on to questions from there.
Perfect. No offense taken. So we are rounding out the design phase. We are close to finish, but we have a couple more touch points with the community plans. This is in response to Thomas from University Park Neighborhood Association's request for us to commit to an additional round of outreach, which I've already emailed back and forth with him a couple times, but we will be doing another outreach push, kind of sharing the 100% plans, which sound very final, but still have room for some minor modifications. So we want to go back out to the community, share those plans, get some more feedback. This ordinance sounds kind of ominous because, it sounds like we're going to start construction tomorrow, but really we have several months where we can make, like I said, minor tweaks to the plans. And we'll be letting the neighborhood associations in the area and community know through various channels. So I just wanted to get that out. There's still time to engage both at this phase of plans and prior to construction, along with during construction. So we also have a post-project evaluation plan that I don't need to get into, but I would love to hear testimony and questions, and happy to answer anything that comes up.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, David. We appreciate it. Any questions at this point? Do we have public testimony?
We have one person
All right,
signed up.
let's hear.
Tom Karwacki.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Okay, I just got promoted to
There you are.
panel.
We see you. We hear you.
Okay, thank you. Just wanting to let you know that the neighborhood is really behind this project. This has been one of the better, if not the best, project PBOT's done for community engagement. That being said, you obviously have set a high bar, and so there was more concerns with what was done on some of the intersections. And the real concern was dealing with the intersections and what was going to happen with the bicycle protections. And there's some folks who had some concerns about that. And as long as Dave is willing to come out and talk, we'll be happy to help out with that, and would be happy to have some more presentations. And UPNA will be happy to do any work that's there. Just to let you know, that's roughly 450 thereabouts parking spaces that have been lost because of this project. So it's not an insignificant thing, but some of what we're concerned with is what has happened in the past. And I know you cycle, Dave, and just, somebody took that one little macrum, the little cutout on the round, and ended up in a parking, in a parked car. And it's just not quite wide enough. There's some stuff. Basically, it's like maybe we should make sure that the stop signs that most of the intersections will have actually have yellow paint so that people don't park in the area right in front of it, so that that will help promote things. Part of what the concern has always been is that their attempt was to one of the goals of this project was also to reduce the speed by which people can take a turn into the side streets. And that, in this particular case, was done probably before reaching out. And people just don't want to have the same situation happen in front of their houses or in their street. That's all. And I'm sure that can all be worked out with Dave. So I really want to thank Dave for what he's been doing and trying to reach out on this group. And I think we're happy with what PBOT's response is.
Great, thank you, Tom. Commissioner Mapps.
Sure, I just wanted to thank Thomas for testifying today, and I want to take this opportunity to both congratulate Dave and PBOT for doing excellent public engagement and urge the Deputy Public Administrator, our City Administrator for Transportation or for Infrastructure to direct PBOT to continue to engage the way Dave is engaged.
Absolutely, we will continue doing that.
Great.
Great. Thank you, everyone. This is a first reading of an non-emergency. Is it an emergency?
It's an emergency.
Oh. Was it?
If I can say one.
Please.
Can't find my page. Is it an emergency ordinance?
It's an
All right,
emergency.
please call the roll.
Mapps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
I appreciate PBOT coming to the dais and explaining this. It's a very big deal. It's a big change for everyone that takes Willamette Boulevard. I take that road often myself, and I thought the testimony was very spot on. So I hope PBOT will continue to listen to the residents who use that very busy pathway towards between University of Portland, St. John's into the center city. I vote aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. Next item, 941 off the regular agenda. First reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Amend code to align with the amended city charter approved by voters in Portland Measure 26-228.
This is the second bucket of code changes coming to council to align code with the voter-approved city charter. This ordinance focuses on updating 3 financial code titles. We have Diana Shiplet back with us, as well as Robert Taylor. You heard my introduction. If we could keep it to the basic facts, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, given the fact that we're late in the day and we had a robust conversation about this yesterday, I think we'll just open it up to any questions you might have.
Great. Public testimony?
No.
Questions?
No.
All right. Do I need to close the record on this one, Robert?
It's not a open public. No.
Okay, very good. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Thank you. Next item from the regular agenda, 942, please. First reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Second reading, isn't it?
Correct. 942 is the second reading.
Amend code to align with the amended city charter approved by voters in Portland Measure 26-228.
All right, so as we heard last week, Diana Shiplet and the charter team presented the first bucket. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mapps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Thank you to the charter transition team. Diana, thank you. City's Attorney's Office, Robert, thank you. I vote aye, and the ordinance is adopted. 943.
Appropriate grant for $656,268 from Earth Advantage as a subrecipient to the United States Department of Energy Resilient and Efficient Codes Implementation Funding Advanced Building Performance Standards in Oregon project.
Colleagues, this is an emergency ordinance. It's an ordinance to accept a grant funded by the U.S. Department of Energy to continue our climate work, specifically reducing carbon emissions from large buildings here in the city of Portland. The city is working directly with Earth Advantage and other Oregon jurisdictions with ambitious climate plans to advance the region's collective work on building performance standards. Donnie's going to start us off on the presentation, followed up by Andrea Jacob. Welcome, Donnie.
Thank you, Mayor. Donnie Oliveira for the record. This is also a record number of times I've been at council, so thank you for humoring me on that. So Commissioners, part of the reason why we wanted to take a moment to reflect and honor the work of BPS and city staff, frankly, is 2 things. First, a few weeks ago, you heard from community about what we're doing on building performance and how we're going to advance some of the policies that we've been working on. So Andrew's going to talk about how this grant addresses that. But also, I wanted to take a moment to recognize all of you for your leadership on climate over the last few years. There were a lot of other challenges. The city of Portland continues to advance our energy work, our climate work, and this is sort of a milestone moment for us just to say, first, thank you for your leadership, thank you for leaning in, but also this is teeing up what's coming next. So as the city continues to advance its climate emergency work plan, funding like this, not just PSEF, but funding like these grants is going to help us advance the policies we need to support our communities and really meet our climate goals. When it comes to the climate emergency work plan, there was 43 items in there that we were focused on, and a lot of them required additional funding. So kudos to city staff for going out and getting those federal dollars in this case to help us implement those objectives. We weren't just looking at general fund to deliver. We went out and found the funding ourselves. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Andrea Jacob from BPS to walk through the grant and what it delivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners. For the record, I'm Andrea Jacob. I am the manager of the climate policy team at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. And I'm here to talk to you tonight briefly about the Resilient and Efficient Codes Implementation Grant. This funding opportunity was made possible by the bipartisan infrastructure law. Earth Advantage is the prime recipient, and they are subawarding this grant to BPS. Next slide, please. So as DCA Oliveira mentioned, this work connects directly to the Climate Emergency Work Plan, Action B1, which commits us to eliminate carbon from existing buildings in the private market. We do have commitments about our own facilities. That's a conversation for another time. Buildings make up a considerable part of our carbon emissions. So you see on this pie chart, after transportation, residential and commercial buildings comprise the next biggest slices of the pie. And this grant, the work of this grant focuses on Portland's biggest buildings, those over 20,000 square feet in the multifamily, residential, and commercial sectors. Next slide, please. So what do we mean when we're talking about equitable, efficient, resilient buildings? We have a framework for this, and it's really been led by a BIPOC community collective called Build Shift for building community and shifting power, and it has 5 elements. First, we have to get rid of the fossil fuels from how we heat and power buildings. Fossil fuel combustion is by far the biggest contributor to climate change, so we need to reduce our energy waste, and then we need to convert our energy sources to clean and renewable sources. The electricity grid is well on its way. We really have to focus on reducing the carbon from how we heat our buildings. That's methane, or what you guys commonly call natural gas. Methane is really one of the most potent greenhouse gases. Secondly, we have to reduce energy burden for renters. Energy affordability is a central tenet of our framework. We've heard from community members time and again that high energy bills really can push families and individuals over the brink. And this connects to our third point around centering anti-displacement in our policy design. We are constantly asking the question, what might the unintended consequences of these building decarbonization policies be? We recently commissioned a study to look at those market impacts and impacts on on rents and possible pass-throughs from the cost of compliance. So we want to make sure that we mitigate for that. Fourth, the renter health risks. Renter health is valued and prioritized. We want to communicate information about the risks of natural gas stoves. Really combusting anything inside an apartment without the proper ventilation is problematic. And we also want to make sure that we communicate about monthly energy costs, especially the high peak bills, since those are the ones that can really wreak havoc for individuals and families. And finally, we're already seeing this, that climate change drives heat and wildfire in this region. Energy efficiency, or sometimes we call that weatherization, helps buildings stay cooler in the summer. It helps them stay warmer in the winter. It also helps keep bad outside air outside. And as temperatures rise, especially at night, we need to be looking at summer cooling requirements, just like we currently have heating requirements for the winter for landlords. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick slide, and the last slide about the grant specifics. I just want to take a moment to thank my colleague Vin Mason, who's here in the audience. Without him, this would not have happened. Shows a tremendous amount of persistence on his part. I also want to thank Earth Advantage for their partnership. BPS and Earth Advantage have been working together for about a decade, and this is just the latest in our long history of innovative climate policy development. So this is just over $650,000 to BPS, and I'll just talk about the outcomes. By the end of this, we should have a final draft code of proposed building standards, And then following on our proposal for multifamily energy benchmarking, which we put out in the spring, we decided not to move forward with because of concerns of landlords that this would be a huge administrative burden. We want to actually work with a coalition of the willing to actually pilot and test how much time and energy it actually takes to do the benchmarking. We don't think it's that much, but we could be wrong. So we're going to pilot and use some of this money to find out what it actually takes. And that is it.
I want to add one, Commissioner Maps, this is interesting. Tying this back all the way back to our earlier conversation around TIF.
Yep.
When you asked us where there are opportunities for community members to talk about the health of their communities and neighborhoods, you can make a direct linkage between the outcome of this grant informing TIF projects. So that would be sort of the nexus between this work on how we're addressing the health of our residents and our communities in multifamily buildings, for example.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, and thank you for the great work here. As we all know, there are two big buckets in our decarbonization space, transportation. I think we got a solid plan for that. I'm really happy to see your team and Commissioner Rubio move forward with plans to decarbonize our commercial and residential facilities.
Great, thank you. Any public testimony?
One person signed up, David Heslin.
Hey, David.
Hello, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to supply testimony and for your attention at the end of a long day. I'm the executive, for the record, I'm the executive director of Earth Advantage, a 501c3 nonprofit headquartered here in downtown Portland. And I'm just wanted to say that, we're proud to, as Andrea mentioned, have partnered with the city for 10 plus years on building related climate policy. And to me, this policy is really an example of the city's continued evolution in this space since the 1979 Portland energy policy that was passed, which actually at the time was the leading building related energy policy probably in the entire world. And you can really trace a through line from that work, that pioneering work 45 years ago, to the goals of this work today. And in fact, that work was done and from the start in conjunction with nonprofit organizations that would be able to help the city work with the for-profit businesses that not only own the buildings, but also do the repairs and retrofitting on the buildings today. So the only other thing I wanted to point out is this project is actually a great example of coordination and collaboration between the city government and the state government and other city governments, because part of this work is going to be the city's going to be working to build on top of a building performance standard that passed through the legislature last year. And the rulemaking on that will finalize this fall. And so this will give a chance for the city to not stand alone, but to build on top of the pillars of that policy that's happening at the state level. And then to be able to collaborate and coordinate with at least 5 other city governments that are looking at similar policies. So again, the city of Portland wouldn't be taking things on just by themselves. They'd be operating in an environment that's trying to create similar standards for the business community to be able to follow. So with that, I just also wanted to thank the other organizations that are part of this. City of Beaverton, City of Milwaukee, City of Bend, City of Eugene, Oregon Department of Energy, Coalition of Communities of Color, and New Buildings Institute. Thank you for your time today.
Great, thank you. We appreciate your being here today. Any further discussion on any of this? Please call the roll.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Just want to thank Andrea and Vin for all your continued great work on this project and looking forward to seeing the next steps. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. 944, a second reading.
Appropriate grant for $474,244 from the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission Organized Retail Theft Grant Program for retail theft missions.
Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Maps.
Aye.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Wheeler.
I want to thank the Portland Police Bureau, and I especially want to thank Chief Day for making sure that organized retail theft in our city becomes a thing of the past. We have had organized missions. They have recovered significant property. They've made arrests. They've even recovered weapons and drugs. And I want to thank them for their continued focus on organized retail theft. I vote aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Next and final item, 945, please. First reading of a non-emergency ordinance.
Assess benefited properties west of Northwest 83rd Place in the Northwest Reed Drive Local Improvement District for street and stormwater improvements.
Priya.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll keep this as quick as possible. For the record, I'm Priya Dhanapal, DCA for Public Works. This ordinance formally closes out Northwest Street Drive Local Improvement District and imposes the final assessment for benefited properties. We are excited to report that the project came in at 68.1% under budget. The substantial savings directly benefits the property owners in the district. I would like to recognize our outstanding engineering work that contributed to these savings. The expertise played a crucial role in delivering this project efficiently and effectively. With that, I would like to invite Andrew Abbey to present further information.
We're going to wrap this up in about 90 seconds, so we'll just close with this very brief PowerPoint presentation. If we can just move it to the next slide. So this is the before picture of what Northwest Reed Drive looked like before we did the project. Next slide, please.
Wow.
So this is what it looked like when we got done with it. And pretty dramatic difference there. And we, you can see from that picture in the lower right, we also installed a new fire hydrant at the request fire marshal. And then last slide, please. So this is a stormwater management extension that we did. And Nicole Blanchard, my very capable colleague, couldn't join us today when we moved this from the AM agenda, but she just wanted to share a couple of remarks. We'll wrap this up, but she wanted to share that the project team made the decision to do testing of the base rock below the pavement, which revealed that it was in good condition despite the failure of the pavement above. And what we did is to be more sustainable in doing this project, we salvaged the base layer. So we only replaced the asphalt pavement on the top, which offered those significant savings that Priya mentioned of 68.1%. They made for more sustainable construction by not having to haul up. As I'm showing you on this slide, a portion of the savings was then used to construct a storm sewer extension and additional inlets to better manage the stormwater, the pavement degradation in the first place. BES was instrumental in assisting PBOT with a quick turnaround on the stormwater design section, and PBOT really appreciates the Water Bureau upgrading the fire hydrants in the area to keep us from having to cut into the pavement in the future. So my main point in just sharing that with council is this was really a culture of collaboration between the three infrastructure bureaus, and it was a lot of customer service in terms of working with the property owners to build a street that would last for the long term. It's a short dead-end street in Forest Park. It doesn't rank very high in our hierarchy of streets, but I'm just extremely proud of the value engineering that we're able to do on the project. And I'm pretty sure in the 175 years of doing these in the city of Portland, we've never had an LID come in 68.1% below budget. We received no objections to final assessment, and the request of council is to pass this to a second reading on November 13th and approve the final assessment ordinance. With that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions you might.
Yeah, Andrew, Commissioner Mapps has a question.
Andrew, it's been a long day, but I did want to just pause and thank you and congratulate you on yet another just really excellent lid. We got the Deputy City Administrator for Public Works here too. I want to congratulate you and thank you for the collaboration that we saw across three different bureaus pulling in a project like this. Significantly under budget is exactly the kind of government that we should all hope for. Deeply indebted to you. Very proud to have been part of your team. That's it for me.
Yeah, I want to express my thanks. The engineering solutions here really paid off. Excellent, excellent work. Thanks to you, Priya, your team, Andrew, you and your team as well. Any further discussion on this item? Is there any public testimony?
No one
This
signed
is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. Moves to second reading. And blissfully, colleagues, we are adjourned.